seagulls follow the shore, it's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you.
And as we say now in my country, they brought the bus and they left the bus in front of the goal.
And the guy's talking absolute nonsense. Never heard so much rubbish in my life.
Normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
I'm telling you, don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday night, and you know exactly what that means. It is time to get on the Bhoycie Bus and do a little bit of time travelling on the old Bustalgia, Celtic Years World Tour, and many other parts of the title that I can probably cipher in there. The title seems to get longer every single week. But yes, here we go, folks. It is that time again. We're going back to a good season this time after last week. We're going to cleanse our soul this week after that was a rough one. That was rough, but it had to be done. We went back to John Barnes era last week, but this week it is a fight, the good fight for Neil Lennon, because it is from Neil's first tenure, his third season in charge. We've done his first and second season. So yes, we're on to season number 3 now. You might remember this, a small matter of a victory over a wee team called Barcelona. That one might be somewhere in the back of your mind. Hopefully tonight we can jog your memory on that one. But yeah, we talk about that and many other escapades of season 2012-13 tonight. And alongside me, it's the usual time traveling team that we've got. Russell Boyce, how the devil are you, sir?
Yes, mate. All good to your Phil. Looking forward to this one. I mean, I know you think you maybe got an easy ride, but I think, there could be some divides in the camp because we're going to need to be talking up Neil Lennon. I know that's not very popular these days, but yet again, this is more evidence that the narrative that surrounds him is so one-season biased. It's unbelievable because this is a season that was pretty special.
Was indeed. Liam, how are you, mate? Canada's favourite Tim, and of course the wise man of the bus. Are you looking forward to tonight talking about this great season under Neil?
Aye, I think it was a season everybody was. It was a weird one, right? It was so many different expectations. What was it going to be like that year? And I am interested to see some of the perspective of the people who were back home that actually went to the games and what that felt like, But the Barcelona game, I think that's one of the, and we can talk about this later on as well. I know exactly where I was, who I was with, every single moment of celebrating all their goals. It's one of the moments I know exactly. I can picture the entire scene and tell you everybody that was there, everything. It's just one of the memories that just stick with you.
It's a special one. I cannot believe when this makes me feel so old. It's actually 10 years ago, because it would have been 2012-13, and this is the 2022-23 season. So yeah, 10 seasons ago. Wow, it does feel like yesterday. I was in the stadium watching the Tony Watt goal. Jesus Christ, man, it's scary. 10 years. Wow, where did it all go? But before we get into all that, make ourselves feel really old, let's get all the good stuff out of the way as we normally do on the bus. So if you'd like to help the bus out with that good old YouTube algorithm, then you know what to do. Hit that like button. If, of course, you are new to the bus and you've only just discovered us, then hey, welcome aboard where you've been all our lives. Why do you hit that subscribe button? You can stick around in our lives that little bit longer. Of course, if you hit the bell notification, you will, of course, be alerted when we do go live. Of course, if you want to get involved in our comment section tonight, we do thrive on the live interaction with the viewers. There is, of course, a poll question tonight, and it is around a rather controversial moment in this season. The question is quite simply a yes or no answer. So if you were in the shoes of Neil Lennon, would you have played Effie Ambrose in that game against Juventus? That is a question tonight, because obviously that's a contentious point. We will be getting to that later on. That is one of the major ones. So yeah, we'll check out the results of that one at the end of the show, and we will talk about it along the way.
If you only had a 1-goal lead against Barcelona, would you have brought in Tony Watt?
Yeah, it's a risky move. But hey, sometimes it pays off, as you know. Tony Watt, it did certainly pay off that night. But yeah, the Effie Ambrose one is an interesting one. When I done my research on this and looked back on the headlines, and a teammate of his decided to, it was actually mouthed off a bit about him, but we'll get to that soon enough. Of course, if you wish to share the link of the Bhoycie Bus, then by all means, please do. And if you wish to become a Bhoycie Bus member, as many, many people have, like Patrick McLaughlin, like Alistair Jack, like Scott Cameron, like who else have we got? Johnny Logue, our very own Johnny Logue. He's a membership as well. And let's get a couple of San Fran Celtic. Yep. So there you go. There's a few there that have become a member. Totally optional. All of our content is free. But if you wish to just doff of the cap for the bus, then by all means, please do so.
Big shout out to Alistair Nicholl as well, who tries to listen to as much as he possibly can. He just became a member. He messaged me to say, I became a member, Bhoycie, finally. So
nice. Good. Welcome aboard, Alistair. Welcome aboard. And yeah, of course, you want to check out our lovely sponsor, piesports.com, as many people have. Yes, then by all means do so. Head over to piesports.com, get yourself an order in, and of course let them know that the bus sent you by using the code BUS1888. You'll get a very tasty 12.5% off your order. Definitely worth it, because I think we can all vouch for the quite tasty treats, those pies. I've tried the macaroni pie, Bhoycie, the kebab pie for yourself. You are very high on that one, so yeah, do head over there.
Liam, I think we should just get Phil to do like a voiceover of all that good stuff, and we'll just play it at the start of every show, because he's far better at it than me. I'm shy at it, man. It's so slick when you do it. Like, you need to just get like a wee play button. It says, Phil, a time for all that good stuff. And just takes us
my
through
voice
it.
just comes in. Aye, I suppose we could do that. But do definitely check out piesports.com. They are definitely providing very good service there. And also, you can still get your Bhoycie Bus shirt. Wait till I find it under the old brand here. There it is there. Yeah, get your Bhoycie Bus shirt orders in now by going to paypal.com, sending the payment to crookedarm@ymail.com. I believe I got that right first time there. Yes, and send it through to Russell, and he will get that order process, because you have to do a follow-up email, Russell, I believe, to obviously tell your address and the size, because you can't put that on PayPal. And it is £40 with payment and postage and packaging payment is optional. Yes,
spot on. But there's a couple that I'm still hearing back from. I had an email from Michael McCarran, and he sent me his size and all that, but then he's not replied to me. And there was someone else the other week who got in touch. We've had quite a few buys this week, to be honest, which is good, because we're getting close to that target. Stephen Gallagher, he sent me an introductory email saying he wants involved, and then I've not heard back from him. So if either of you are listening, get back in touch, because I have replied, and let us know if you're still keen. I mean, Kevin Mcginlay's, you can give to the channel, Kevin, just by being here, mate. We're delighted to have you on board. Don't you worry about that. Good to have you on, mate.
Oh, wait a minute. This is a contentious, a topical point for tonight. Phil to match the day on loan. No, I shall not. I shall definitely not be showing up on that. But I'll tell you this, I think it'll be the most watched match of the day in history on Saturday. I think people will tune in just out of intrigue, just to see who the scabs are, just to see who it is. I've got my money on Danny Murphy right now. That's who my money's on, to the
Fucking
scab.
scumbags, by the way.
That's
Scumbags.
terrible.
See, I can't
Terrible.
believe what I've seen today. I just can't believe
Mental.
that they're that in bed with each other. The government and the state broadcaster, the publicly paid for broadcaster and the government are now not even trying to hide it anymore.
Oh.
If I was Celtic, just on a very quick note, I'd be, we were, immigration is something that's very, very close to our heart. I just don't go out there and give them an interview. It was all right for the other lot to dingy doing BBC interviews for the best part of a decade over facts. So Celtic's got good foundations here if they want to go, do you know what? We're pulling our interviewing participation until that stuff's resolved, because freedom of speech is important. Do you know what I mean? And if I think Celtic have got a chance to make a stand there, they won't. But I think that would be something that would be really, really poignant if Ange and the rest of the coaching staff don't do the pre or the post match this weekend. Just let the BBC have a bit of silence themselves. Do you know what I mean?
There might be a few clubs.
There
might be a few clubs in England that might go down that route with the whole match of the day. So you might see it happen. So it's been all over the news tonight. But no, I'm definitely not, Alistair. I'm definitely not going to be doing no hosting on match of the day over the weekend. I'm very much committed to the cause on the Bhoycie Bus. Now, let's get some quick trivia in there, guys. Only 4 answers to this trivia question tonight in relation to tonight's topic, of course, the 2012-13 season. So all I want to know, guys, the 4 answers to this one is, can you name all of the Celtic players that we've signed directly from another Scottish team to have scored in the Champions League, excluding qualifying games? So Champions League proper.
Group stage.
Yeah, group stage. And we have had some flops for the second round, we have. But there are 4 players that we've signed directly from other Scottish teams who have scored in the Champions League proper, say, excluding the old qualifiers. Because if I'd included the qualifiers, there'd be some shockers in there. We'd be guessing all night with some of them in particular.
So close to having them. I've got 3 of the 4 already.
Okay, I think I'll watch this 4th one that might have. But we'll come back to the answers, of course, at the end of the show. Now, let's go on with it, guys. Let's delve into the 2012-13 season. Of course, we will start seeing summer of 2012. Who was the big winners at the end of the previous season? Setting up this season, what was the big news headlines, the big stories? Where were we in summer of 2012? Well, of course, we have actually been in this period before. So we did do Euro 2012, but I'll just go over it again. So Champions League winners were Chelsea. They defeated Bayern Munich in their own backyard, in Bayern, in München, in Germany, in Munich, or however it goes. There's another only excuse reference. That's 2 weeks
I
in a
love
row.
it, mate. I love it.
There you go. But yeah, they did. They quite surprisingly, they get battered. If I'm out of Chelsea, were an absolute mess that night. Terry was suspended. Bayern were all over them. And Bayern scored about 5 minutes to go through Thomas Müller. And then with the last kick of the game, a corner kick, Didier Drogba headed in an equaliser. I believe in extra time as well, former Chelsea player Arjen Robben missed a penalty. And then on a penalty shootout, Chelsea go and win. And Didier Drogba with, well, it wouldn't be his last kick for Chelsea because he would return in a couple of years' time. But at that point in time, his last ever kick for Chelsea, he goes and scores the winning penalty and wins the trophy for Chelsea, making them the first London club and still the only London club to do so. I believe this is also the game that John Terry, was that the full kit game where he came on in full kit and celebrated at the end? It's that one, isn't it?
Bit cringe. Bit
A
cringe.
A bit, man. And I mean, you think back to like the 99 one, the Man United Champions League win, and like Keane, that they were on the park celebrating with the winning in the kit. They were suited up. They came on and done the whole trophy lifting stuff as well. But yeah, the whole kit thing and that, oh Jesus, it became a meme forevermore. Well, John Terry, no surprise to be fair.
I think he was subtly thinking like the photos like would kind of make it look like he played that night. Do you know what I mean? In the future,
Maybe,
I think that's what he's subtly trying to do. It's like, no, mate, he'll not get away with that shit.
I played that team. Where are you? I'm a guy in a suit. There's loads of guys in suits, you know. It's like, no. I just put my kit on, you know.
It's so cringe, man.
Oh, it is.
I think I did the same thing.
It was okay. I say it's a meme that now lives forevermore. But I say I'm no surprised with John Terry's. Oh man, the lags, he's a bit of a shameless guy at times. It doesn't surprise me at all that he'd go on there and try and hog the glory. At the end of the day, he is a Chelsea legend and stuff, but he didn't play that night. Frank Lampard captain, but yeah, Chelsea ended up winning the trophy, and Didier Drogba got the fairy tale ending for his time at Chelsea. So he would come back a couple of years later, and yeah, he actually won the league under Mourinho in the second spell as well. I'm pretty sure he was there for Mourinho's second tenure and lifted the Premier League again. So it wasn't like he came back. It was just a nostalgia act where he didn't really do much. He actually came back and contributed pretty well. But he's always a striker that I've rated very highly, despite his association with Chelsea. Also, Drogba was an absolute animal of a striker. He was a striker for the big occasion. You always see him scoring cup finals, particularly against Arsenal. He would always haunt them. He would always pop up and score against the Gunners, unfortunately. Now, Europa League, a team that we encountered in the 2011-12 season, would go on and win it. Because as you might remember, we got in the back door in 2011-12 into the Europa League because Sion fielded some ineligible players. We ended up in a group with Atletico Madrid, Udinese, and Rennes. It was actually Atletico Madrid that went on and won the trophy that year. They beat Athletic Bilbao in the final 3-0. That Bilbao team that had like Javi Martinez and Ander Herrera. They kind of put them on the map because over the next few years, all those players would start transferring to bigger teams. But they all got to the final. Atletico Madrid trounced them 3-0. I believe this is because they'd sold Aguero to Man City at the start of the 2011-12 season, replaced them with Falcao. So because Atletico went through a period they had like Torres, then it was Aguero, they had Forlan, they had Falcao, Diego Costa. It was like they just had a great habit of pulling great number 9s out of nowhere all the time. So yeah, Falcao is this Atletico Madrid team, and they would beat Athletic Bilbao 3-0 in the final. And I just mentioned Sergio Aguero there. He has a very prominent role in the conclusion of the 2012 Premier League season because, of course, that is the Aguero goal in the last second of the game against QPR. Of course, you get the Martin Tyler call where he screams Aguero, and then it cuts to Joe Hart. Joe Hart is the first person that it cuts to, if I remember right, running around with the arms out. All the scenes in the background with Mancini jumping about in the sideline. I think Martin Tyler says, "Drink it in, you'll never see scenes like this again." And it was a hell of a finish to that season. It really was. So we're 2-1 down. A lot of people forget it wasn't just like the Aguero winner. They were actually 2-1 down in stoppage time and scored twice in stoppage time. It was Edin Dzeko that scored the equaliser. And if I remember right, Russell, Joey Barton made a complete arse of himself that day, as he does. So I'm pretty sure he gets sent off for lashing out at a Man City player during the
Wouldn't
game.
Be like him. Wouldn't be like him bottling it on the big stage.
Aye, because QPR were like battling relegation, if I remember right, and I think they were officially safe at that point. But yeah, he still put them in a bit of jeopardy. He got in a fight with a player, if I remember, he got sent off, and yeah, Man City going into stoppage time, 2-1 down, but they came back and won it 3-2, the last kick of the game. Chelsea picked up the FA Cup, defeating Liverpool 2-1. Again, it was a man for the big occasion. It was Didier Drogba scoring the winner. And then the League Cup, a man we talked about last week, Kenny Dalglish, his second spell as Liverpool manager. This was the only trophy that they picked up in his second term. They beat Cardiff City in the League Cup final. They drew 2 each and then beat them on a penalty shootout. So yeah, it was not a very successful time for Kenny Dal when he went back to Liverpool for that second spell, but he did, of course, sign one Luis Suarez, who quite a interesting thing. He also did sign Andy Carroll, though. So for every half decent player you'd sign a quite rubbish one to counteract that. But yeah, I remember that window they sold Torres and signed Andy Carroll for big bucks, and Luis Suarez for a fraction of the price they paid for Andy Carroll. And yeah, Suarez was definitely the better one out of the two. Now, of course, we've covered the 2011-12 season. We've done it already on Bustalgia. Quite an eventful season. Celtic did go on and win the league. Something rather dramatic happened on the other side of the city. Midway through the season, February 14th to be exactly, Valentine's Day, a day that we don't celebrate Valentine's Day now here with Celtic fans for anything other than Administration Day. That's now what it means to us. You know, the fans outside Ibrox, the big house must stay open, and the guy kind of choking back the tears going, upsetting. You know, it's just iconic stuff. Yeah, 2011-12, that was that season. But unfortunately,
there's so many bits for that interview. Even when I think about them, I chuckle. That guy, he whispers.
Upsetting.
No, it's not. It's upsetting, he says.
Did you not say something about he's not slept for months or something?
Oh, that's the old guy. I've not slept for months. quite emotional. He just whispers again. It's so good. It's so good.
Well, StuTube has come in here to say in the early part of 2012, I was mostly standing outside Ibrox as a photographer, snapping Rangers going bust. It was professionally fantastic. I bet it was.
Brilliant, StuTube.
Yes.
That would have been a fun job.
That would have, yeah, that would have been fantastic.
And that's it. Steve was right. He says, "I disappointed, very emotional, disappointed." What is he doing? It's so good.
And we get the John Brown on the steps outside Ibrox. Show us the title deeds, Mr. White. Oh, just so many moments. Craig White fumbling his way through that statement and then quickly scurrying back in the doors before he got lynched. Oh my God.
Remember John Brown standing on the steps, like just gasped,
Title
just
deeds.
like shouting. He was just steaming. What is going on, man? Oh, that was brilliant.
Good times, but yeah, that was one of the many mad moments of the 2011-12 season. We've covered that season. Of course, with Celtic now going on to win the title, we could have the chance to win the treble or the double, but sadly, we conspired to blow that one quite royally in 2012, where we lost a Scottish Cup semi-final to Hearts, who would then go on and win the Scottish Cup, beating Hibs 5-1 in the final. Ouch, to be a high B in that one. And yeah, we lost the League Cup final to Kilmarnock. A Belgian lad that I believe they only had for 6 months. He only scored 2 goals at Kelly, and one of them was winning goal in the League Cup final against us. So, yeah, for as good it was to get the title back after 3 years without it, and it would be the springboard for our second 9 in a row there. The Cup games at that point, Hampden games in particular under Neil Lennon, it wasn't a happy hunting ground to say the least. And they 2 games, Craig Beattie running around the track at the back of the goal with the shot off and Hearts beat us in that last minute. Oh man, just sickening stuff. Luckily this season we're about to talk of, we kind of eradicate some of that. We exercise some of those demons in the season coming up, thankfully. But yeah, there were some low points in the 2012 season. And as for the big winners around the rest of the continent, Italy, it was Juventus. Spain, it was Real Madrid. Germany, it was Borussia Dortmund. In France, despite it being the first season that PSG had their mega money takeover, it was Montpellier that won the league. Olivier Giroud inspired Montpellier. In Portugal, it was Porto, and in the Netherlands, it was Ajax. And of course, we had a tournament that summer. Spain made it 3 international trophies in a row as they won Euro 2012 that summer. Now, big transfers in the summer of 2012. A lot of big hitters here, big movers, because we get to the stage where money's really starting to go up, especially now with the PSG takeover, because they are the headline act in the summer of 2012 with some of the players they brought in, guys. They brought in Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Ezekiel Lavezzi, and Thiago Silva for big money. And I say Zlatan would go on. I would just another one for the CV in terms of all the teams he's played for, league titles he's won. He hasn't won the Champions League though, has he? Still not done that, despite all the great clubs he's played for. But when he'd go to PSG,
Milan this season. Imagine. Oh, what a career that would be.
42 now.
He's 41, 42 in October.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, it's I'd love to see him win it. It'd be some story, but I don't know if I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Milan could. You just
I
don't
thought
know
he
sometimes.
peaked though, by the way. He peaked at Paris Saint-Germain. And that's not because it's a farmers league or any of that nonsense. He just, at 30, 31, he just became... I mean, I thought he should have won a Ballon d'Or ring that time. I thought he was an absolute joke. How good he was. He was amazing. He was so good to watch. And some of the goals he was scoring were just shambles. Half of them were his heel. Do you know what I mean? He was class. Big Zlatan.
And of course, Thiago Silva, who moved that summer, he's still playing football as well. He's still at Chelsea. He's like 37 or 38 now, so he's on quite a bit. So, Thiago Silva's still kicking about. I don't know if Ezekiel Lavezzi's still playing, but Ibra and Thiago Silva are still hanging in there. Now, of course, they moved into French football, but a player that moved out French football that summer, some wee guy from Belgium, you might have heard of him, guys, named Eden Hazard. He fired Lille to the title in 2011, and despite many clubs chasing his signature in the summer of 2012, he chose Chelsea in the end, just after they won the Champions League. But I can remember Man United being very, very close to getting him as well. He was a name that I'd seen his name doing the rounds and stuff. Obviously, with Lille's title success the year before. But yeah, a lot of clubs are chasing him. But he chose Chelsea in the end, despite all of the, let's say, Man United, one of the teams chasing him. But Man United did make a very crucial signing this summer after losing the league to Man City. They went out and got Robin van Persie from Arsenal, which is another one that irked many Arsenal fans because it was just another one in the long conveyor belt of players that were just leaving after they moved to the Emirates. It was like they were cursed. All the big players just kept moving away. Thierry Henry, Samir Nasri, all these type of players, Fabregas, Van Persie was just another one in the line. But he went to Man United, and safe to say it worked out really well for him because in what would be Alex Ferguson's final season, the 2012-13 season, he was pretty much the sort of spearhead to lead them to glory. Because after this season, the injuries that had plagued Van Persie just kind of caught up with him. And yeah, this was like the season coming up is like the last good season of Robin van Persie. But yeah, he would get his hands on the Premier League title after being at Arsenal for so many years and not getting a thing. And here's a guy as well who's still hanging in there after a move. This is 10 years ago. This is crazy. Luka Modric left Spurs for Real Madrid in the summer of 2012. In the time that he's been there, he's won multiple Champions Leagues, La Liga titles. He's been a Ballon d'Or winner, and he led his country to World Cup finals since being at Madrid. Not too shabby. Plus, he had a rather good game against us this past season. He joined that list that we talk about, guys, that we kind of hate, where a player comes to us in the Champions League and gets a wee applause as they go off the park because they had quite a good game. But yeah, Liam Modric, goes without saying, he's, regardless of what we may think about applauding players off the park itself, you can't argue with how good a midfielder this guy is. He's still going now.
Total class. Loved him since he was at Tottenham. He was one of the players that instantly catches your eye. He's the player I hope Hatate turns into. I really hope playing against Modric, he was soaking that in and just watching everything about him because you could see him developing into that type of stylish midfielder. It's just get feed him everything, let him be creative. That's sort of projects you sort of see when I see Modric and I see Hatate.
That's the headline sorted, Liam. Do you know what I mean? That'll be Celtic podcast says Hatate as good as Modric.
I know it.
Don't get it wrong. When Stefan Johansson first joined us and I watched him play, and I was like, oh, he's getting a lot of the traits of Modric there. So it's not too far-fetched to compare some of our players to get a wee bit ahead of ourselves and compare them to. But I mean, I say Hatate, if he could do even a portion of what Modric has done in his career and become that level, then my God, we're on to a winner. But he definitely looks like he's going to go far in the game, and hopefully he's got a good few years left with us doing that. But yeah, he's say Modric. If he idolises Modric in any way, then you can definitely see because there's a lot of similarities there in the old tropes now they play. Now, here's a team that don't usually come up when I do this, but Zenit St. Petersburg were spending some of that big oil money that they've got over there in Russia, where they brought in Belgian midfielder Axel Witsel and Brazilian, for one of the best Brazilian names I've ever heard, Hulk, the striker who was, I don't know if Hulk's still playing, but basically he's got that nickname because of his physique, because he is built like he's fucking stacked in terms of you can't get the ball off him, the way he just holds you off and stuff like that. He was renowned for his strength. But yeah, Hulk, that was very good. I don't know what his full name is because you know what Brazilian names are like. But yeah, he's just known as Hulk. But yeah, that was who Zenit brought in. Now, I mentioned earlier on Athletic Bilbao after their UEFA Cup run or Europa League run. Javi Martinez would join Bayern Munich that summer. In amongst the big transfers this summer, here's a surprise name, Stephen Fletcher. Yes, that Stephen Fletcher was in among the big transfers around Europe when he moved to Sunderland, the basket case club. Jordi Alba, he made the move from Seville to Barcelona that summer off the back of his heroics for Spain, winning Euro 2012. He'd actually scored in the final at Euro 2012, and he would play a part against us this coming season for Barcelona because he did score a winning goal against us in the new camp, but we'll get to that soon. I mentioned earlier on Montpellier winning the French League, well, their main striker, Olivier Giroud, joined Santi Cazorla and Lucas Podolski and heading to Arsenal. Spurs would sign Moussa Dembele, not our Moussa Dembele, the Belgian Moussa Dembele, Hugo Lloris and Jan Vertonghen in summer of 2012. And finally, a wee story from the world of transfers. Remember Jack Rodwell? No, most people don't either. But he joined Manchester City in that summer. One of the and his career would just slowly fizzle out after that. One of these players that I feel was victim of Man City being in the Champions League. They need English players to tick a box, and Jack Rodwell fell into that. I felt Scott Sinclair fell into that as well when he gets signed by Man City. Ross Barkley going to Chelsea. There's a lot of players that they look quite promising at the lower-level clubs, then a big team just comes and takes them and never really gives them a game, and it was purely just to tick a box for the UEFA Champions League squads. But yeah, Jack Rodwell will join Man City in the summer of 2012. But yeah, some big names. So again, takes me back to 10 years ago. Some of these names have just like fell off the face of the earth, but some say still
Rodwell
playing.
went to Sunderland, did he not, after that? For how much a week?
Oh, this is in the Sunderland Till I Die documentary. This is the Martin
I'm sure he's
Dubin.
80 grand a week.
Wow.
80,000 a week. Aye. No, just saying that, mate. 80 grand a week. So, you know, you think he got his big move to Man City. Tell it to his bank manager. His bank manager when he went up Tyneside or Tyne and Weir, whatever it's fucking called. That's when he got his big move. Joining the Maccoms. 80 grand. So they were down Liam in League One. He was still on this wage. They couldn't shift him. And why would he move?
Why would you?
Scott Hout.
Well, I mean, he's kept it topical there. Yes, R.I.P. RSC. Upsetting or disappointed, whatever.
Disappointed.
Yeah, thank you, Scott Howe. We appreciate it massively, mate. I appreciate it. So, in terms of pop culture and news headlines, so Celtic kicked off the season by beating Aberdeen 1-0 at Celtic Park on the 4th of August 2012. Forest and Machine were top of the singles chart. Plan B was top of the album chart. And the big film in the box office that week was The Dark Knight Rises. Tea in the Park. Well, it's time for a game now, Russell, of Kasabian on one of the lineups, because we're in that stage where anytime after 2004, Kasabian are always a good bet to be on one of the lineups for Glastonbury or Tea in the Park. So let's have a wee look. Tea in the Park was headlined by Snow Patrol, the Stone Roses, and wait for it, Kasabian. Yes, so of course they were on there. Across the 3 nights, other big acts who appeared included Noel Gallagher and the High Flying Birds, Kaiser Chiefs, The Darkness, Simple Minds, Elbow, Chasing Status, New Order, Calvin Harris, The Cortinas, David Guetta, and Happy Mondays. There was no Glastonbury in 2012 because of the Summer Olympics in London. They took the year off, probably one of those years as well, just to give the site a bit of a rest. They would do that from time to time at Glastonbury.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of the Olympics, the United Kingdom team had their best ever Olympics up to that point. A few Scottish athletes in there that brought home some gold. Chris Hoy, Michael Jameson, and Andy Murray. So, Russell, I'm glad you're on, because we did the Euro 2012 show and you weren't on for that one. This is something I wanted to talk about to you, because you obviously know Andy Murray personally.
Oh, second best pal. Second best pal.
2012 was certainly a sum of him. He wins an Olympic gold. He's a runner-up at Wimbledon, but he wins the US Open. He would win Wimbledon in 2013, but this is him really firing on all cylinders now, isn't it?
Oh, aye. And at this point, I mean, who he's up against, like, this is like peak Federer, peak Nadal. Djokovic is on the horizon at this point, just finding his sort of, his sort of place in with it. Now he's got, he's equaled the majors. In fact, bettered them, I think, now, Nadal and Federer's record. So he was in some company. And 24, 25, the Olympics one, he beat Federer in the final. I'm sure it was the United Kingdom against Switzerland.
It was.
I think Roger gave him that one. To be honest, I think he's like, you've got to win something, mate. Do you know what I mean? I can't keep breaking your heart in front of your own fans. But the US Open one was massive, and it was funny because he had won when he was 15. He'd won the Junior US Open.
Right. Okay.
So that was the first sign you seen of what Murray was going to go on to do, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it was funny that the first tournament he won was also the US Open, and as the notes say, you know what I mean, it's the first tennis Grand Slam trophy won by a British male player since Fred Perry in 1936. I don't see Murray selling as many polo shirts, but nonetheless, big achievement.
It was, honestly, summer Andy Murray. He absolutely
there's a blast for the past.
Bruce FM. Hello.
What's happening, son? A pleasant surprise that is.
Oh.
Hey. Good man.
Welcome back aboard, Bruce. Yeah, good to
thank you. The 5 you didn't need to do that, mate. Good to have you on.
Yeah. And also answer Polymorph's question. Seamus won the 2012 Royal Rumble. He did say a good, nice green and white connotation. Yes, it was Irish wrestler Seamus that won the 2012 Royal Rumble, and he is a Celtic fan. Well, Liverpool and Celtic. He's one of those Irish fans that supports Liverpool and Celtic. But yes, there is plenty of evidence out there that Seamus loves the tick. But yeah, he did win the Royal Rumble in 2012. Now, guys, speaking of Rumble, it was quite a rumble in the summer of 2012 in Scotland in the pre-season, because let's do a little pre-season roundup, because some mad headlines here following on from how the 2011-12 season ended. So how would Celtic be tooling up for this season? Because we're in a strange new world where, well, we might as well talk about this first time because it is the headline. So Rangers obviously have gone bust, and they would be liquidated and would be starting over again in the bottom tier of Scottish football, putting Celtic in the position where essentially we've got a free hit here. There's nothing. There was, for me, my point of view, I mean, Liam, you said earlier on when we started the show about to get people's perspective who were at the stadium that year, there was, as we will talk about when we get on to the crux of the season, we had a lot of stinking results this campaign domestically. We actually lose 7 games and draw 7 games. I mean, it's 14 games that we drop points in. But at no point, at any stage, in any of those bad results, did I ever go, oh, Jesus, man, we're not going to win the league. It was such a weird, surreal feeling because, yeah, Rangers are, as Scott Howe donated earlier on, said, GBNF, you know. But yeah, they were nowhere to be seen. They would be starting their season picking a ball out a hedge at Brecon, I believe it was. I will say, I get Brecon and Berwick always mixed up. Who's the team that's got the hedge around their stadium?
Brecon.
Okay. The image of the ball stuck in the hedge, that was kind of like the start of the banter years. That was it, the first one. And yeah, they would basically put together a total squad of SPFL cast-offs, like John Daly, he went down Kevin Kyle, and the Fran Sandaza, who wouldn't last very long when he gets stung by a Celtic fan phoning him up, pretending to be like an agent or something, wasn't it? And then he revealed his contract details over the phone. And oh man, I see the banter years were kicking off in style in 2012. My God. But yeah, that's what Rangers were. So if you're asking the question, Rangers, where are they? They're down wallowing in the bottom division where all sorts of mad part are going on right now. But how were you guys feeling going into this season? Just a bit like me, but it was just like, I've no worries at all. Like this is a free hit. There's nothing to worry about.
I think I was looking forward to see what Celtic were going to do, right? And it was one of the things that I was trying to con myself into believing, we don't need them, it's just going to be good. And I'll build up a dislike for Aberdeen or somebody just as much. And you can't,
Yeah.
Still, it made it harder getting up at 4 a.m. I still did it, but it made it harder. It made it much harder. I like when I get up at 3 a.m, go and watch a Rangers game. There's an excitement, there's a buzz, It's not the same with Aberdeen and that, even in cup finals and things like that. I like when we're taking them on, and I like when we're playing our best. And so it was good to watch. But again, as well, you were wanting to see something evolve. You were looking forward to seeing, okay, so this is like a free hit, as you said. How are we going to use this? How are we going to use this opportunities so that we're going to grow and just have to only worry about ourselves, and so there was that sort of optimism. We all know what happened and all that, but again, there was that sort of thing. And then for entertainment value, I mean, the other good part was going into the club, and then it was like listening to some of their results or this edge, and it was just hilarious. It was just good banter. So it was like no pressure. Those were the good times. Like easy Sunday mornings. Show up, say a pal, start talking during the game. Not like now where you're riveted to every moment, every ball.
It was a moment in time for me this season because it was an opportunity that we had to refocus what our ambitions were. And because the nature was, the league will probably take care of itself, let's be honest. And when you read out those stats, Phil dropped points in 14 out of the 38 league games. That's astonishing. But it tells you where Lennon was focusing. And it actually was at the bigger prize. And I know we're going to talk about Europe in depth tonight. And it was an opportunity. I think Lennon was seeing it for what it was. We'll deal with the league stuff. Do you know what I mean? We'll deal with the league. We see the Champions League. I'm focusing this team all on qualifying for it first and foremost, and then once we're in it, making an actual fist of it. That's what we did. And it's the only season out of the 9 where really I think our attention was solely focused on the Champions League, whereas realistically, and I include the first couple of years Rangers were in it, we could have took it out, we could have kept channeling our energies towards Europe. What I actually think subsequently happened, and perhaps why Lennon left, is because actually what Celtic wanted to do was just stay the best in Scotland. And they didn't have the mojo, the impetus to. And it's quite a shame because actually what was achieved this season, which we'll talk about, last 16 of the Champions League, should have actually been a springboard and an encouragement for Celtic to go, well, do you know what? You're right. There's a lot of empty seats in the home games in the league. A lot of chatter, as Liam says, during the games, because even when we're dropping points, we're still going to win it anyway. There was an opportunity there to go, but hold on. We still actually did, matched our best ever Champions League campaign. A piece of it won the European Cup. I mean, in the Champions League format. Yeah. We matched that. Hold on here. That's interesting. That gets you sponsorship. That gets you marketing deals. That gets players still intrigued and piques their interest in coming. That keeps us generating massive turnover, despite the fact you're nearest rivals that are meant to bring all the sort of moolah to Scottish football. When you've got the 2 teams in it, I think when you channel your energies in the Champions League, and they only did it this first season. And I think that was very much a Neil Lennon production. And I think after that, that was it. It went off piste after that, and it was very much just let's be better than the rest. Let's sing Scott Allen's. Do you know what I mean? and stuff. And that's not disrespectful to Scott Allen. I thought he could have done okay. I just mean, for argument's sake, I just think it became, as long as we're the top of the pops, do you know what I mean? Let's focus on domestic stuff, where I think this is what the most dumbfounding thing about it is, because that first season, if we just got pumped in Europe, then I could say, right, this is going to be a bit of a slog domestically, but that's where we're at. But instead, there should have been real signs of encouragement that actually, we could fucking make a dent here in Europe. We actually might have the luxury here of being able to go, we've got a team that haven't played at the weekend, ready to go for all 6 of these group stage games. Do you know what I mean? I don't mean the whole 11, but you know where I'm coming from. Yeah. We could have each game could have the freshest possible team to play. And look at when Lenny did it. It worked. Do you know what I mean? It worked. The results we pick up are astonishing. The first away win, the second away win, whatever it was. And then you've got the
first away win in the Champions League.
First away win it was.
Yep.
And then the Champions League, and you're going, that's 16, it's there. And then we seem to sort of refocus, the path that we wanted to go down. And fair enough, if 9 is 10 is the be all and end all. But for me, I think it was really confusing that with that being the first season of, without your rivals there, look at that success in Europe. Here's the new project, Celtic focusing on Champions League. Because if ever you had evidence you can get away with it, 14 games you've dropped points in, and you've still won the league. So it could be, let's become Champions League focused here. And that's not how it panned out.
Well, you got to remember, Bhoycie, at that time as well, we were on everybody's highlight reel. Everything
we were the main thing on Sky. We were the main match on Sky Sports that season.
Look at the people display that went around the stadium. That was, whoever set that up was the Green Brigade or not. But that was absolutely amazing. The walk-on beginning, everything about that game was absolute box office. So if you're looking to market a team and you're looking to sort of get people excited about, this is what Champions League can do for your brand, your association with us, for our advertisers. I mean, our kits looked absolutely brilliant that year. I mean, everything that was in our favour, that was the year we should have built. That was it. Everything was there. Although they weren't there, we had that Champions League, and you're right, we went backwards. Can you fault the...
I was going to ask, how much do you think, Russell, that the season before, now the 2011-12 season, where we got in a back door to get in that Europa League group, where we took Sion's place as a pot 4 team, we didn't even get put into what pot we would have actually been seeded to. We were put in Sion's place, and we played quite well in a group that we were kind of thrown into with Atletico Madrid, Udinese, who at that time were always finishing around 4th and 5th in the Italian league. And Stade Rennes, who we beat at home, drew away. We drew twice with Udinese. The only team that beat us was Atletico, who won the cup. Do you think that also set up this set of players to get them sort of ready for the Champions League? Because that was a strong group we ended up in that Europa League one. I think it was a good wee test for them to set the stage for what was coming.
Well, that's true, 100%, and particularly the fact we didn't sign anyone in the summer. It was going to be the exact same guys who picked up that experience, wasn't it?
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? You had to go with the guys that got the experience because we didn't give them exactly any fresh faces, did we?
Oh, no, really, because overall the transfer business that we did for that summer was we made the Fraser Foster deal permanent after 2 seasons on loan with us. Effie Ambrose would join the club. We'll get on to him in a wee while. Miku came in on loan, and Lassad would join on a free transfer just after the summer window had closed, therefore he couldn't be registered for the European squad. Not that we would have missed much there, to be fair. He was quite, In the January window, we would have had Rami Gershon on loan, and somebody by the name of Tom Rogic. You've got to wonder if he'll go on to achieve anything at Celtic. But yeah, we signed him in the January window. But heading out of Celtic in the summer of 2012, Jesus Christ, it was a massive queue of players on the way out. Efren Juarez left, Chad Uri, Glenn Luvens, Niall McGinn, Morten Rasmussen, Daniel Mastorovic, Darren Adi, Mark Wilson, Josh Thompson, Ki Sung Young, Daryl Murphy, Andre Blackman, and Bo Bangura. There was loan deals in there as well, but yeah, they were basically the players that were heading out, whether it was permanent or on loan. They were all off ski. And yeah, let's get this in here then. There's a pre-season headline. You like to talk about this, Russell? The kits for the 2012-13 season. I've seen a few mentioned in the chat already saying about it, but the best set of kits that we've had, definitely under Nike, I would say the Nike deal, they 3 kits were.
I think it's the smartest 3 kits, period. Regardless of who's made them, to have in the one season. Just flawless. All 3 are absolutely flawless. Love the thinner hoops. You can see that on the Bumblebee top. We have matched that. We've matched the exact. So the hoops in the Bumblebee top we do is the exact same width as and the same volume as what there is on the on this season's green and white hoops. The white away kit with the whitened out tenants, it's just embroidered in. The Nike badge is just embroidered in, but it's in white, so all you can see is the Celtic. Oh, it's just so cool. And the really nice thin black collar, it's just a thing of beauty. Yeah. I like the black socks with the hoops as well. Just looked a wee bit mental. I like that. And then the two-tone sort of black hoops with the tricolour around the collar and the sleeve. It's those 3 kits. That is a hat trick, mate. For me, I think that's as good. At the same time to release all 3 of them. Take my money, mate. Take my money.
Liam, as you're an artist, you can appreciate things of beauty. So, what's your opinion on? What's your verdict on those 3 kits?
Yeah, I've got one of them. I mean,
nice.
Buy a lot of kits, but that one I bought, the black one, it was absolute class with the collar and the wee, just the wee tuck. I thought that was brilliant. I thought that's when Nike were at their best. They were that's when they had all the best teams, all the best World Cup, and all the best people working at Nike back then. And you could see it in, like, they didn't just try and appease us with something or just add their colours to it. Like that strip, the white one, they did the research on that, and the hoopy socks and the black collar and all that. I thought it was brilliant looking,
And the trackie, trackie we need to talk about, because here's Kieran McFadden saying exactly that. Neil Lennon, skinhead and tricolour collar turned up, guys. It's an iconic look for Neil Lennon, prime Lennon. I always say when I think of him in his first tenure as manager, I always think of that. I mean, he just had the skinhead done. He's got the tricolour turned up, and it's just iconic, man. I love it. Love it. And you had the whole thing that season. They just got it right. Yeah, just got it right. Do you know what I mean? All 3 kits. It's just a class look. Then your manager's wearing a belt or a tracky top. It's just destined to have a good year this year in Europe. Do you know what I mean? An away kit we could actually wear against Hibs as well. I mean, what a novel concept, The amount of problems we've got these days when we go to Easter Road and we've not got an away kit. They always clashes with them. We need to bring back one for the season before. So yeah, we actually had one we could wear at Easter Road as well, so we didn't have the old colour clash. But brilliant set of kits that season. Phenomenal. So maybe, Adidas have been kind of dipping into sort of nostalgic kits when they've been releasing them. So maybe they'll look at that black away kit from 2012-13. Be like, maybe we can put our own spin on that. Even though it's a Nike one, I know Nike and Adidas are the sort of big rivals, but they They would probably sell a lot. I mean, the one that they did this season, the black with the green pinstripes, I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the best-selling Adidas kits this season, never mind Celtic kits. I think out of all the Adidas range for all the teams they do, I think they'll be quite surprised at how well that's sold worldwide for them, because that one is phenomenal. So always dip into the past. You'll always, people love retro, they love nostalgia. So, you know, when you do that, when you do a wee sort of throwback, people will go crazy for it. So I think if they did a wee throwback to the 2012-13 away kit in some capacity, then I think they'll make a killing on that one.
I agree.
That would be a good one to see. Now, in our wee headlines as well for this season, well, as I say, with the Rangers' demise, of course, interesting story is, as they usually do, you'll be surprised here, it's never their fault, though, guys. You've got to keep in mind, even though, remember, it was put to a vote and majority rules at the end of the day, because that's called democracy. Obviously, they were sent down. But a wee personal story of mine, at that time when I was working in the city centre, I used to get the bus into the work in the morning, and it's back of like nearly 7 o'clock in the morning. I don't really like talk to them. I just get my headphones in, just head into my work. And anyway, every day I'd be standing at the bus stop and always be the same sort of people there. And there was this wee old woman that eventually I talked to, because eventually you get familiar with the same people there. And I eventually gauged that she was a Rangers fan because of some of the stuff she was saying. And again, because it's that time in the morning, I'm just like, I don't want to talk about just to anybody, right? I just don't want to, I just want to be left alone. Just a hello, how you doing? And just leave it at that. And I just played the whole, I don't really care about football, right? I just played that whole card whenever she bring up football. But the day after the remember Hearts played a Europa League qualifier against Liverpool that summer, and they nearly got a result at Anfield. David Templeton scored and signed for Rangers the very next day. So he goes for scoring a Europa League game at Anfield to sign him for a third division team the next day. So she's talking to me about it that morning. I know, strange career choice. I bet he regrets that one. By the next morning, like I'm standing there, it was a Friday morning because it's Europa League Thursdays, and she's talking to me about it. And again, I've just gave that sort of, I'm nowhere bothered with football, so I just go, oh right, well, that's interesting. She's talking about how she thinks he'll do at Rangers and all that, and then she says, "Aye, see that Peter Lawwell, he'll get what's coming in one day. It's all his fault what's happened to us." And then I was just like, I says, "Explain to me how it's his fault." And she's like, he knows what he's done. He knows what he's done. I'm like, what's he done? And I was just kind of going, even though, like, I think she was kind of caught on that I maybe was a Celtic fan or I was a football fan deep down, but I had kind of been stringing her along for the last few times we spoke, and I was like, I just kind of like, what's Peter Lawwell? Why is it Celtic's fault? And as far as what I've read is he's haven't paid your bills, and that's why he's in the position he's in. Oh, she was fuming, but yeah, it's always somebody else's fault. It's never their fault. It's that Peter Lawwell's fault. Oh, it's he'll get what's coming to him one day, and it's like, the unseen Fenian hand, as it was always said, he's pulling the strings in the background. They truly do believe that, but it's just so typical of them. It's so typical. It's never their fault. But see, democracy ruled. It was put to a vote for all the clubs, right? And of course, they tried to get into. Remember, they wanted to put them in the first division, and then that got.
That didn't make sense.
No, I know it didn't. I know. Oh, mental.
Cheers, David McMenemy, as well, by the way. Nice one, mate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, pal.
Now, a wee quick story about pre-season here, because this is one of these summers where, and I can understand why they've done it, because it's a money spinner, but God, we went through a wee period here, and this was the first I can remember this happening. We played a pre-season friendly after the season had started. It was like 2 or 3 weeks into the season, and we had to basically postpone a league fixture to go and play a friendly on the other side of the world, because we'd had a training camp in Germany. We won 2 out of the 3 games there. Then we get beat 4-0 by Ajax in Amsterdam. Norwich would beat us 1-0 at Celtic Park. We drew 1-1 with Inter on a friendly, and we rounded off our pre-season games by flying all the way out to Philadelphia, USA, to play Real Madrid after we'd already played the first league game of the season. And when we played our next league game of the season, we drew 1-1 with Ross County and then followed up by losing to St Johnstone. So what's the exactly agree? But I remember we would go through a wee period here where we would play these friendlies. There was like a Dublin Super Cup or something we did as well one year where we played like Inter Milan and Liverpool in Dublin at the Aviva Stadium, and that was after we played the first league game of the season. And it's like, I get it's a money spinner, but see, once the competitive stuff starts, nobody cares, mate. Nobody cares about friendlies at that point. But we flew across to Philadelphia to play Real Madrid that summer after already playing Aberdeen. But yeah, that's the situation we found ourselves in, these money spinning friendlies.
Well, see, I remember the feeling being like everybody was really just like super jacked. We were getting invited to play all the best teams in the world at that time. Every year we were getting all the offers, you know, and I think the fact that we were flying to play Real Madrid, you know, like even in the middle of your season, I think it was just that wee bit extra, just that wee bit more of a twist. Oh, what you's doing? Or you're getting changed in the car park behind that Asda to play some pumpers and stank lifters or whatever's in the 4th division, right? You know, so I think it was all part of the banter, and I think it helped us in Europe as well, because get used to playing against good players. You could see what the standard was, and we had it 2 or 3 times in that pre-season.
Now, something in my head is telling me, and it's not this season that we're about to talk about, but I'm pretty sure a plan was pitched somewhere in the last decade for Celtic to play Dundee in a league game in Philadelphia, which would have been at the same stadium we played Real Madrid at, Lincoln Financial Field, where the NFL team, the Philadelphia Eagles, play. But I'm pretty sure because Dundee, like their owners or something, are from America, there was a plan in one of the seasons that we played where a league game was going to get moved to play in Philadelphia, because in the NFL, they do a thing where every season there are 2 games that are played in London now, where it's like, so like the New York Giants will play like the Pittsburgh Steelers in London. It's like it's not like a preseason game. It's an actual, like, in their league, a competitive game. So no team has got a home advantage, but it's that whole try to get the brand abroad. And I can remember in one of the seasons over the last decade, probably one of the ones when Rangers weren't around, I think it's a Dyler era, I'm sure a plan was pitched to make a league game between Dundee and Celtic get played in Philadelphia, which would have just been like, no, you're going too far here, taking our league games away. Jesus. Dundee would have been officially down as a home team in that game, but still, that just been like, that's too much. I can see an English Premier League team doing that eventually. I can see the way with the English Premier League's going, something like that's going to happen. I know in Italy, they play like their Super Cup final in like Saudi Arabia and stuff every year. So big leagues are starting to go that way with taking games abroad, competitive games. But surely, I just don't even think about it. Neil Doncaster, if you're listening, you're watching, don't even think about it. Seriously, never ever do that. Man, that would be a diss.
Well, I think that's what we have to do. I think we have to be doing stuff like that. I went to the NFL when it was in London. I saw the Raiders versus the Dolphins, and it's absolutely brilliant the way that they market and stuff like that. And that might be the sort of things that we have to do, like to go over to places like Boston. You sell that out in Boston, no problem. Well, I don't know, no problem, but I'm sure if it's marketed the right way, if it's marketed, that Irish, that everyone identifies as Irish, or went to Notre Dame, or supported the Fighting Irish or the Boston Celtics, that's really, really easy to tie that in marketing-wise, And so I'm hoping that would come over here, that they would do a game every now and again, because it's worked really, really well for NFL. NBA's done it. I know hockey's done it as well too, and it's done it. So I sort of aggressive thinking that we need to start thinking in Scottish football just to get out there so we can market our game better, because it's not getting done now.
No,
we probably can't shut the door on any of these sort of forward-thinking ideas, because we just don't generate enough with the status quo.
No, we do not. Well, we're coming up to the hour mark, guys. So we'll put in the old halftime interlude, and when we come back, we will get into the 2012-13 season. So we'll see you in about 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Well, you've all that stuff at the start. They won't be playing Tina Turner on the coach on the way home, will they?
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan. He's a Rangers puppet. He's a cheerleader. That's what he is.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, 2012-13 season, let's get into it. And as the title card says there, London calling, because the Champions League final would be in London for 2012-13 at Wembley Stadium. In fact, I think it held the Champions League just like 2 years before in 2011. Barcelona beat Man U. So, yeah, London getting the Champions League twice in the space of 3 years. But, yeah, obviously Wembley's a top of the range stadium, so naturally it's always going to be one of the front runners to get these big games. But yes, we are heading into the Champions League. So this whole season can be divided into two main talking points: our European campaign, and afterwards we will discuss our domestic campaign. So let's get the European stuff out of us, the real good stuff, because a lot of highlights in this one, very good memories from this campaign. But yeah, it would start. Well, as we said earlier on, Russell, with the demise of our pals across the city. Let's put all our eggs in the Champions League basket. Let's concentrate on it. Let's really, go for this here. Say we've had a half-decent showing in the Europa League the season before when we kind of get thrown in unexpectedly because Sion and their chairman were an absolute madman. But yeah, we end up doing not too bad against a team that would go on eventually to win the league. We held our own not too bad. So yeah, went into the Champions League. Now, the qualifying rounds, now this is also a time when away wins for Celtic in Europe in general were always a bit rare to come by. But in the first round of qualifying, we're playing HJK Helsinki, who we would beat at home 2-1 quite narrowly. So the away goals were still in play. But we went away from home and beat them, I believe, 2-0 as well. So a sort of comfortable win away from home on the road, even though it was only at the qualifying stage. But I say away wins, Russell, at this point for Celtic in general in Europe were always quite hard to come by. So any sort of... Yeah, so even if it was only Helsinki, they're the type of teams that Celtic do slip up against in Europe. So I was so relieved to get through that one. I believe Samaras and Joe Ledley scored on the day he beat them.
Yep.
But yeah, a huge relief to get over that hurdle, because a 2-1, when you've only won at home 2-1 with away goal still in play, squeaky bum time, as Fergie would have said.
I was at the Edinburgh Festival that day with the missus at the time, and obviously, I'd done my homework before we went, and I knew the Three Sisters were showing it on the big screens. The game. I was like, just randomly had sort of navigated us towards the Three Sisters. Do you know what I mean? Why didn't we go in there? That looks brilliant in there. It looks mobbed. Obviously, it was just so I could get a good seat for the football. So we stayed there for the game. Watched it on the big screens there. It was class, man. Big Sammy in Europe setting the tone for what would be his best season in a Celtic jersey for me. I think he peaked this season. It was his best campaign. And you talk about refocusing the team for the Champions League. I think he was very much the epitome of that. I think he was very much like, give me the big games. I'm up for this big time. Do you know what I mean? And that win against Helsinki. We drew 1-1 in the first leg. Is that right?
2-1. We beat them 2-1.
Oh, we did beat them 2-1.
Gary Hooper and I think Charlie Mulgrew scored. But them getting an away goal is obviously a bit like, dodgy. And I say teams like Helsinki are the type of teams that we would see over the next decade are the level of teams that would beat Celtic in qualifiers. Cluj, who's the one? Maribor, Legia Warsaw. These are the type of teams that we need to be worried about. So yeah, 2-1 victory going out there, you're like, it's going to be a nervy one. But no, we were quite comfortable in the end. And onwards we would go, Liam, and we'd be playing a team that has a wee bit of a connection with Celtic through a legendary player. We would be drawn against Swedish side Helsingborg, who of course played for them. Liam?
Rick Larsson. Did he not have a band when he first came to us? He used to say Helsingborg on it.
I think he did. Yeah, he might very well have. Aye.
One of the headbands used to say that on it.
Aye, well, that's his hometown team as well. So he was manager as well at one point of Helsingborg in his post-playing career. But yeah, we would be drawn against them. And this time the away leg would be first. But again, you're going from Finnish league opponents to Swedish league. So it's a bit of a step up. But again, it's that level of team that Celtic have got to be wary of. Because also both of those teams are that dangerous one where they've actually been playing their competitive season for months at that point. So you're always a wee bit like, wary playing them. But we went out there and we beat them 2-0. With Chris Commons scoring. And I think Samaras scored again in that game. I remember Chris Commons scoring like a scissor kick at the back post only like 5 or 6 minutes into the game. It was quite early on, and that kind of calms you down. You've got an away goal, but we'd go on and win that game 2-0, Liam. So there you go. That's 2 away games we've played so far in the qualifiers and won both of them. But already you're starting to feel like something's brewing here with this team. They seem confident on the road.
I know. I mean, what ended up happening is you were going to meet your pals and all that for the weekend games, but you spend the whole time talking about the European ones. You know, I think it created an excitement and a league run. You know, with them that we needed to get our entertainment. We needed to get that buzz for somewhere, and that was high voltage. It was like it was charging. It was kicking off. You know, and you could see it building. As you said, Sam was coming into a game. Hooper, the real deal. Mulgrew looked fantastic. That's beginning that season. And dare to say, Effie, before Effie went to the African nations, he was looking solid.
Aye.
He was looking really good.
Aye.
How well he brought the ball out for the back four was unreal. He could just take players out the game. He was very good with the ball at his feet. Effie was a strange player when you look back. I mean, he was one of those ones. He became like a comedy figure at times, because if he made a blooper, it was one hell of a fuck up. Do you know what I mean? But I think his good bits maybe got lost in translation at times. I mean, he could get the ball at his feet. He could just take the strike force out, and that was it. Their midfield then's got to commit to him, and he was so gallus in the ball, so gallus. I don't know if you remember, he played the World Cup. Would it have been 2010? 2010 World Cup for Nigeria.
He was definitely playing 2014.
14 it maybe. Well,
yeah.
Played right wing back for
He
Nigeria.
did. Yeah, he was up against Messi. He was up against Messi in a game.
Down, whipping balls in. I was like, wow. I thought he was good with the ball at his feet, and I definitely think if there was ever something that the Celtic, the two centre backs don't do, they're out. They don't need to, but you don't see them committing players as much as that and taking it past the forwards and cutting into midfield. Cameron cut because maybe a wee bit more, but Effie was so direct that he was quite happy carrying the ball 20, 25 yards, which can eliminate so much of your opposition team and get you so far up the park with numbers. Aye, Effie was a funny one, but definitely again, someone Lennon managed to get the best out of.
He did. He was, he did start that season really, really well, and he would play his part. And of course, the biggest result of the season, people forget that he was playing in that game as well. But we will get to that one soon. But he started really early, as William says, after that African Cup of Nations. And funny enough, the game that I've put the poll up about, the Juventus game, is the one where it seems to be the sort of break in the timeline where it goes off and skews off on a tangent, where you've got this really steady player. And then that just seemed to knock his confidence down, but we will get on to the debacle of the Juve game in due course. But yeah, we beat them 2-0, Helsingborg away from home. Coming back to Celtic Park now, it's a formality, and it was, we dealt with them pretty well, but there's still that sort of, I mean, for me in the stadium, when Wanyama scores the second goal quite late on in the second half, that's when it was like, okay, this is happening now, Champions League, here we come. But in hindsight, once the dust had settled on those two qualifiers, you're like, we navigated that, like, we got through that really well there. There was no drama. There was no, like, moments where you felt like, oh, man, we're going to blow this here. I say the season before, qualifying for the Europa League, we actually get beat by Sion quite handily on the night. Had Mastorovic sent off after 2. It's a very typical Celtic in Europe disaster class. The year before that, with Braga beating us, then the FC Utrecht game. So Celtic in qualifiers, you're always used to, like, some sort of shambles happening. But when the dust had settled on the Helsinki and Helsingborg game, you're like, that felt quite good, actually. We actually navigated those qualifiers with no hassle, no fuss, and we're in the Champions League group stages. What a feeling. And to answer Kieran's question, because he's asked, is Phil, Russell, William, when the group stages were drawn, did any of you think we would finish second? I certainly didn't. Second, no. When I looked at the Barcelona, Benfica, Spartak, Moscow, what about you guys? Did you think second was going to happen, or was it more a hope?
No, but I never remember going into it. Like, what kind of became the conditioning of people is you can't compete with these teams. If we were drawn that this season, it would have been, oh, well, you know, it's great to be here. It's great to be at the top table and all this bollocks. Whereas I never remember going into the group. Whilst I agree with Kieran, I didn't think we'd finish fucking second, right? Let's get that out there. I didn't think we'd finish in the top 2. But I didn't go into these games like with a negative mindset thinking, oh, you know, it's great though, at least we're in the Champions League. I never remember thinking like, even the first game against Barca at the Nou Camp going, oh, it's a free hit, it's Barca away. He still wanted to win. And it was like, we can still compete. And I think, again, whether people like it or not, I think it stems from the manager. You look at his track record in Europe, he's like, trust me, they're only 11 guys. They're freaking beating better teams than this. You know, well, maybe not better than that Barcelona team right enough. But the likes of Benfica's and Spartak Moscow's, why not? And I mean, you go play Barcelona, don't be scared of them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Don't be feared. And I don't know, I just remember going into that group campaign. Yeah, I take Kieran's point, not thinking we'd get second or in the top two, but also not going into it with any trepidation or fear.
Yeah.
I remember going into it quite like, bring them on. Do you know what I mean? I think that was that was the sort of attitude. And, you know, there was a wee bit of that, I think at the start of this Champions League group campaign, if you remember the build-up to the Real Madrid game, there was a bit of, you know, they're aging, we're young, we're vibrant, we play 100 mile an hour, we might lay a glove on them here. And by the way, we were very close to doing so. Then the wheels came off second half as they went through the gears. But I don't know, you need a bit of luck on your side as well. But when the group was drawn, my overwhelming feeling, I would say, would have been excitement as opposed to anything else.
Aye, and the thing is as well, this group, Liam, because we're just out we're in 2012 at this point in time, so we've just had a decade there under Martin O'Neill and Gordon Strachan where playing in the Champions League and competing, you know, was quite a regular thing. And at this point in time, we're actually very familiar with all three of these opponents. Barcelona, Benfica, and Spartak are all teams that we'd played in recent years, albeit Spartak's one was qualifying for the Champions League, but what a slobber knocker of a game that was. That was a penalty shootout game. Jesus H. Christ, that was a memorable night, that one. But yeah, going into fun, because this is a weird thing that I've noticed over the years when it comes to the draw for the Champions League, because I'm always in the impression that beggars can't be choosers, right? At the end of the day, we don't qualify for the Champions League that much. But we saw it this season with the Champions League where people are like, I want to draw Real Madrid because we've never played them. I'm like, anybody, bring it on, you know, whoever it is, we get. But yeah, this stage when this group was drawn, Liam, we had say Barca and Benfica we were very familiar with at this point in time with European games that we played with them in the last decade or so. How were you feeling initially when you saw it? Were you thinking, I kind of like to see like a different team, or were you just like Russell? It's like, nah, no real trepidation, bring it on, whoever we get. Excitement about it, really.
I like when we play a big team. I like what that brings to us, you know. And it's no problem at that point. You know, I was watching games in Toronto and stuff at like, you know, 2:45 in the afternoon and that, and people getting off work. And when you're playing a big team as well, chances are it's more international. I've had loads of times where I've had Italian friends or friends that just come from other places that support AC Milan or something come and watch a game with you as well. And, you know, that's always good when you're away from home too. So I just like the big occasion. I like to see, also there's a better chance of seeing it in different places here in Canada as well. The bigger the team, the more chance it's going to be televised, you know, and you're no counting on a Satanta feed or something like that. You're watching in the pub, in the big pub, knowing some wee telly on the side, you know, because they try to do that sometimes to Celtic if there's more like English fans than Scottish fans, you know. To get fight for them, you know. I like it. I like when we play Barcelona because the crowd gets always the moments, you know. The tifos, just the build up, you know. Watching all the highlights of the last time we played them for the build up as well, and going through those Tony Watt moments, and you know, the times we've played them have been really good. So, I like when we get a big team. I was buzzing when we got Real Madrid. Wanted them for a while. You know, don't do too much, but I like when we get Real Madrid.
Yeah. Well, in terms of this campaign, Russell, we started with Benfica at home, and of course, as I just mentioned a moment ago, with Martin O'Neill and Gordon Strachan, we're used to Celtic Park being a fortress. We're not used to dropping points in Champions League games at home, but we started with a pretty drab 0-0 draw. A totally unmemorable game from my point of view. I was at that game. I genuinely can't remember anything about it at all. It kind of peels into the background of this whole campaign. But initially, though, when that result happened, how were you feeling after it? Because I say we're used to, nobody comes to Celtic Park and takes anything else. Benfica had beaten Celtic Park twice in the last decade and been beaten twice by us, but they came and got a 0-0 draw. So right where you're like, if we're going to do anything in this group, we need to win the home games.
Yeah.
We've drawn the first home game. Shit, what do we do now? We're going to need to supplement it somewhere with a good result away from home, which we'll get to soon. But initially, coming away from that game, I was like, that's not the start we needed here. We needed to win that game. Benfica and Spartak are the two teams we must definitely be beaten at home. But yeah, 0-0 draw initially. So how are you feeling confidence-wise after that one?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the most exciting of starts. Do you know what I mean? It's not a compelling beginning to a group stage campaign, a 0-0 draw against one of the teams that really you're going to need to beat if you've got any sort of hope. Would have said that it was a case of reality biting. I don't know. I don't remember feeling that either at the time. It was like, all right, we've drawn the game. Who's next? And suddenly, you know, you've got the opportunity to right the wrong with Spartak away, and you're thinking, really? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not impossible. Why should away results be impossible? And that's not because you're predicting before we'll definitely win in Spartak away. But I don't know. I think the fact that there was a added impetus on it, like you've cocked up there, by the way, by not winning the home one. The Spartak one took on a sort of greater magnitude, if you like. And sometimes that can be good for the players to have that. You're not going in with the mindset of, oh, you know, if we get out of here with a point, we're jamming. It's like, well, you didn't get your 3 points at home. This is probably the most likely ground of the away grounds. You could get the 3 points. You need to go in with that mentality. That may actually have played into our hands to getting the result in Moscow.
I am pleased with that mentality. They certainly did, because Liam, as a away record up to that point was pretty bad. I think we did 1 point on the road, which was in the new camp. John Hartson equalised in Martin O'Neill's last season. We got a 1-1 draw. But of course, no away wins up to that point, but records are there for one reason, to be broken. And broken it was in that night in Moscow at the end of September 2012. I've mentioned this goal before. I just love the play of it. Victor Wanyama wins the ball back in the middle of the park. He's actually inches away from a really bad challenge. He goes in with quite high studs, but comes away with the ball. If he connected to the player, history could have went another way. He wins the ball, plays it to Mikael Lustig out wide. This one, Lustig's legs were still functioning pretty well. I've talked about this cross before. It is the perfect cross for the penalty box striker. It's low, it's along the ground, it's into that danger zone that the keepers don't like, basically just on the sort of edge of the 6-yard area. And of course, Liam, who have we got at that point up front? Gary Hooper, and he eats up the type of balls all day, every day, and he finishes it well to put his one up after just a matter of minutes. So, and of course, we were wearing the iconic black kit that night, which also adds to the images of this game, because a good away kit, you know, if you have a great result in it, the memories will last forever. But yeah, that goal, I always wax lyrical about it. It's the perfect sort of cross for a fullback and exactly where a striker wants it. And Gary Hooper, he's going to eat them up all day, isn't he, Liam?
Roy the Rover stuff in it. You just have to draw lines, him to him, whoosh. It was one of their goals. Nah, I thought Hooper was great in that game as well. You know, Lustig had a great game. That was good. I mean, it was
he stepped up, Liam. He stepped up.
There was some sort of stigma there, is that we couldn't win away, and that was proof right there. And that was a really good side. There was a lot of money going into Russian football at that time.
Yeah,
so
Aidan McGeady.
They weren't
Aidan McGeady, yeah, that's right.
McGeady. So they weren't any mugs at all, and it was just, I liked it. I liked the buzz that was happening about the club. I wasn't about playing Rangers. This was like, okay, we found our place. You know, this is where we belong. And you can see with that, you know, say entitlement and all that. It's not that. Expectations, maybe, you know. You can see where those expectations have been built when we have nights like that, and we've proved that we can put a team together, and as fans and everyone together, we can get the big results. We just needed the board to buy in as well. You know, you know,
you guys though, like Cooper, I think, who had the balls to convert their form from domestic football onto the bigger stage. Just do exactly what you do domestically. Just do the same fucking thing. Do you know what I mean? And that finish that he takes, first time, sweeps it home, and you're like, that's exactly what I've been watching him do in the SPL for the last 2 years. It's the exact same. It's just taking that form into it and playing without fear and not playing the occasion.
Yes.
Just playing your game. Do you know what I mean? And I think, obviously, as we always do, you contrast and compare to now, and you think Kyogo shat the bed a wee bit. That's not me trying to be over the top criticism of him.
Yeah.
I think on that stage, there was just a wee bit of the occasion getting to our strikers. And I think that was maybe an issue, that they were too consciously aware of the environment that they were in. This is at the top table. Whereas I just think, I don't know if that came from the manager, for Lenny, or whether it came from the players that had it within themselves, because they were a strong mentally, the team that Lennon had bought. You talk about Ange buys, people, not just players, the person, not just the player. Well, I think Lennon did that very much as well. And I think he bought in guys that had a bit of backbone, had character. You know what I mean? I think that was a big thing for Lennon, that they had to be able to, not that you would use the term nowadays, but back then, man up for the occasion. That's what you'd be looking for players, And I think the likes of Hooper and that, they just played without fear. And it didn't matter whether it was the Champions League, whether it was the SPL. I'm scoring that brilliant ball by Lustig every time, no matter who it is I'm playing against. That's on a plate. And it's never crossed his mind that this goal could mean the first away win for Celtic in Europe. He's not thinking about any of this shite. Do you know what I mean?
I was only like 5 minutes into the game or something like that. It was really early on, so we set the tone quite early. But deja vu would sink in, guys. I know how I was feeling when this happened, because Celtic in Europe away from home at this time, and even to this day, it still seems to happen, where we concede some of the stupidest goals you'll ever see. We always have the same sort of tropes that always rear their ugly head. And one of them is always conceding goals in quick succession. Whenever we lose one, we'll lose another one shortly after. And just before half-time, FIFA 13 legend, if you played Ultimate Team back then, Emmanuel Emenike, Nigerian striker, puts one in the net to make it 1-1. And then just minutes after half-time, a brace either side of the half, he makes it 2-1, and you're getting that deja vu sinking feeling where it's like, I've read this chapter before, I've been here before with Celtic, I'm getting flashbacks to things like Aalborg from a few seasons before. We took the lead, we seemed to be cruising, then we lose 2 quick-fire goals, and it's like, here we go again. But then, amazingly, a stroke of luck actually goes away, because you do need a bit of luck at times. Spartak Moscow got a player sent off, but if I remember right, the referee dilly-dallies for ages to make his mind up on this one. Gary Hooper's through on goal, and the fullback basically just tucks his shirt and pulls him to the ground outside the area. The referee has to go and deliberate for it. It's long before the days of VAR, so there isn't like a video to go and look at. And I think he goes over and speaks to the 4th official or one of his linesmen, and it's one of these, he makes his mind up, and eventually he comes back, sends the player off. So now we're up against 10 men, there's about half an hour to go. And again, a wee bit of luck on our side. James Forrest gets himself in a nice position, hits a shot that bounces off the keeper, comes back and hits a defender and goes into the net. 2-2 with 15 minutes to go. And then it happens, guys. Stoppage time. Emilio Ezagiri out wide. Perfect, absolutely inch-perfect left-footed cross. Georgios Samaras with a wee glancing header towards the back post. He gets in front of the defender, meets it perfectly. And I think he even clips the post on the way in as well. It just goes low into the far corner. And yeah, history was made. Celtic had their first away victory. And big, gorgeous Georgios himself, Russell, the hero of the day, the man who was for the big occasion, especially this season. He's the man that gets it. And doesn't really, it was a trope of Samaras's. He didn't really have a celebration that much. He just was always a bit like, if you see the celebrations, it's last minute. You'd think he'd be going absolutely mental, but he's just kind of like, no, they're all crowding him. It's just like,
love it.
What
He's
a guy.
total maverick. But he divided so much opinion at the time as well, even then.
Oh, yeah.
Should he be starting? Really? Oh, he can't be bothered. I might just let him turn it on, man. He's a maverick. You need these in the team sometimes. Just let him. See, when it comes to the big occasion, Lennon was hanging his hat on him, and for the right reason, do you know what I mean? Because Sammy, that was gold that moment. Do you know what I mean? That header is going nowhere but that back, inside that back post. Absolute precision for the big man. Deadly when it matters. Yes, it might be a nice, cool celebration, but you need to be ice cool with taking that header on.
Yeah.
And he was completely ice cold. Do you know what I mean? When he's took it, boom. See you later. I don't know why I've reenacted that. That was embarrassing. But when he's headed that into the back post, just a peach of a goal. Huge moment for the season. Turning point in the group stage campaign. And Samaras, by the way, just a shot over the bow that, by the way, this group stage is going to belong to me.
It was. And Liam, as I said earlier on, after the Benfica game where you came away with a point from a home game and it's like, oh, that's a terrible start. Suddenly now, after 2 games, you're on 4 points. I'd imagine Neil Lennon's target after 2 games would have been 4 points. Beat Benfica at home and try and get a point away with Moscow, and that's a perfect. If we get 6 points, even better. But 4 points would be a perfect launching pad. But now we found ourselves in that position. So suddenly you've gone from, oh man, maybe a bit dodgy with that 0-0 draw, but on top of the world, we're now exactly where we want to be heading into the double header with Barcelona. But Samaras, Liam, just pure gallus. What a finish it was. Cool as you like.
Good finish as well. And I remember that campaign in Europe, he was our outball. He was brilliant. Like somebody was it EK Revolver, moving him to left midfield. I think it was genius. Totally agree. He'd take it 30 yards from about 30 yards inside our half, and he'd carry it about 40 yards, and he was just lightning going up that wing. And the way he was there, he would carry it and shield it. It just sort of transitioned how we move forward. And and guys like Gary Hooper, and I think he really got a lot of help for that, because it let him get in position and let him power forward, right? Because he was always better when he was from a place of power rather than like just standing still, Hooper.
It was an odd position Samaras played, Liam. Eh?
Was that?
Really it was an odd position that Samaras played because he wasn't a left midfielder quite. I know technically if you were doing the formation on the board, I suppose that's where he's meant to be. But he was kind of like a left forward in this sort of free role in that area of the park. It just, if we didn't have a symmetrical line, like one on the right hand side, it was just up the left. There was just this Samaras position. Do you know what I mean? It was class, and it totally worked. And I think you're right. It helped getting the team up the park. When Celtic, when you're having to dig in, right, and you've got all the guys back, having that outball like Sammy, as Liam's saying there, is just a godsend, because he can carry the ball, he's got the strength to hold off guys, he can take the ball 20, 30 yards up the park and allow the rest of the team, as Liam's saying there, the next transition for defence to attack. He's allowing that to happen, allowing us to get bodies up in support, because he can dwell on the ball, he can hold it up. It was a strange position that he had played for him, but again, you've got to say, a brilliant idea for Lennon, because it does look a bit unorthodox. Most teams, it's like a butterfly, they're the same either side of the park, whereas we just had Hooper up top and Samaras just in this sort of left-hand side area that just roaming about, man, doing his thing.
I think defenders just had the fear when he was running at them, because when he got up to full pace with the ball at his feet, I mean, 9 times out of 10 people would argue that Samaras didn't even know what he was going to do next. So imagine if you were a defender with this guy running at you at full pace, you don't know what he's going to do next. I mean, I've seen many games in that era where Samaras had that space out wide. And when you would get full pace, you could see defenders backing off him because they don't want to commit to a tackle, because they don't know where he's going to go next. And he was brilliant out there. He was fantastic, but he found himself in the right place at the right time for that game in Moscow, in the middle of the box, to meet that perfect cross for Emilio Ezagiri to head it in and put us on 4 points after 2 games. And it sets us up now for a big double header against Barcelona. And as you said, Russell, Neil Lennon probably gave them this idea: don't go in with any fear. Don't go in with fear against them. I know it's Barcelona. And Jesus Christ, we played with no fear that night in the new camp. And funny enough, who was it that put us ahead after 18 minutes? None other than Georgios Samaras puts us ahead. A free kick into the box and he heads in, and we'll win 1-0 until half-time, when I believe Iniesta, either Xavi or Iniesta, one of those midfielders equalised. But we hold on, Russell, till the 90th minute, and it looks like we're going to get a point here, and we were good value for the point as well. But then Jordi Alba ghosted in at the back post and scored. But you came away from that game, and it was such a weird feeling where you've lost to Barcelona and you should take it as, it's Barcelona. We weren't really expecting to get anything. Anyway, you came away going, here, man, we fucking deserved that, man. We deserved to get something out of that game. I'm fucking raging that we didn't get that.
I told you what happened though, Phil, didn't I, with this game? I told you what happened with this, eh?
Did you? Is this the one you bet on?
Aye, so I've had like a truckload of Guinness before it. I owned my own pub, but it was in Stirling watching at the Irish pub. Do you know what I mean? Okay, who cares? Nobody cares, mate. Right, I'm away out to watch it with my fellow Fenians. Do you know what I mean? And I put on a coupon, right? Which I'm terrible at. It's the only coupon I've ever won. And the only scorecast even I've ever won. And so I left that night. We never even went out after the game because I was that low. I was like, I'm going home. I'm not in the mood, man. I'm gutted about that. 2 days later, I go on to put on a Europa League coupon. £1,250 sitting in my bookies account.
Wow.
I was like, well, I just thought, oh no. I thought I'd put in like business money or something into this steaming. Yeah, I looked, bet Salmon has to score first, Celtic to lose 2-1. I would never bet against Celtic. I don't know why I've done it. Just wrecked. So for 2 days, I've been sitting with £1,250 in my account. Liam didn't have a Scooby-Doo. £2.50 bet. £2.50 is all I'd bet. Celtic to score. Salmon has to score first. Barcelona to win 2-1. So that Jordi Alba goal, God bless him. What a legend.
Aye, cheers, Jordi Alba. Thanks for that.
Well, thanks, James Forrest. He was the one that let him go. That was his man.
It was, man. It was.
Sleeping that one. Everybody, it's like, Forrest, there's your man gone. Everybody's screaming. And he just runs right past him. He's just seen it coming. My heart sank.
But we end up going to say, coming away from that game, losing 2-1. And they say if we were all gutted, I'd imagine Neil Lennon and the players were even more gutted, because I think that would have gave them that wee inspiration heading into the next game. Knowing Neil Lennon's character and how he takes these sort of results, he would have used that as fuel again for coming into the second game, where he would have told them, we can beat this team. We deep down, he thought, we can get at this team. We can definitely get a result here at Celtic Park with our own fans behind us. And as Liam said earlier on, you had that Green Brigade display before it. Something was in the air that night heading to the game, where it was the 125th anniversary, that display before the game. Even though we had a few injury problems going into it as well, it was just something like, you just felt it in the stadium on the night that something's around the corner or something big's about to happen. And big it certainly was. Victor Wanyama.
Do you know what's mad about that too? Just before you go into the game, I share the same birthday with Celtic. We were born 100 years apart.
Oh yeah.
So their 125th birthday is my 25th birthday at this time.
Man.
They're the exact same date. They was 6/11/1887. I'm 6/11/1987. So I was celebrating my 25th birthday. I was like, we'll win. Definitely will win tonight. I'm sitting there going, I'm going to get another £1,250. I never quite happened. But so both those games are like stick out to me for personal reasons. It's mad.
Oh, it's a game that will live forever. But it's extra special for you with who having a birthday in the same day. Because this is the game, the one that defines this entire campaign, and probably the most memorable game of this season. And we do take the lead midway through the first half, but not after a bit of a siege early on, because Fraser Forster just basically said, and Fraser Forster had a good game in the new camp, but he took it to another level in the game at Celtic Park, because he just decided, no, you're not scoring tonight, Barcelona. No matter what you do, no matter what you throw at me, you are not scoring. Lionel Messi, in particular, was just a one-on-one battle between the two of them at times. Some of the saves Fraser Forster was pulling off to deny him, to keep it at 0-0 was astounding. I mean, we talk about the League Cup final from 2019 that we were speaking about the other week. That was a performance and a half. This performance was unbelievable. But we take the lead halfway through the first half. A corner from Charlie Mulgrew. Victor Wanyama, back post header. I believe our first shot on goal of the night. One of our very few shots on goal for the night. But hey, it just needs to go in the net. Who cares how many shots you have? But Victor Wanyama puts us ahead, and you're starting to believe, you're starting to feel it. And again, Barcelona, they're knocking at the door. They're trying everything. They're throwing everything at us. But they still can't score. Fraser Forster just stopping them. Alexis Sanchez was playing that night for Barca. He forced a few good saves out of the big man. Say Messi, he's tried everything in his power. Can he score? And then we're into the last 10 minutes, and we're still winning 1-0. I think it was the 82nd, 83rd minute this happened. So Tony Watt, a youngster, came through the ranks. No, he didn't come through the ranks at Celtic, sorry. He was signed. There's one of your answers for you, but I think he would have got that anyway. Signed from Airdrie United. Airdrie. Not even another SPL, not an SPL club. Airdrie. That's what he was signed from, but he's thrown on because there's a lot of hype around this youngster. And Fraser Forster's on the ball, had made another good save. And he just decides to go long, just get it up the park, try and relieve the pressure. And the stars just aligned, everything just aligned. The ball bounces at just the perfect angle. And I believe it's Xavi that goes for it in the middle of the park, and it just bounces over him just enough, right into the path of Tony Watt. Cool as you like. What age would he have been at this time? Was he only a teenager? 18. through on goal, and Victor Valdez to beat, and he slots it past him, and history was made. What we thought would be a star was born. That wouldn't quite pan out that way, but at that point in time, Tony Watt must have felt invincible, because the scenes around Celtic Park when he makes it 2-0, and that's when the reality set in, where it was like, we're going to actually do this. Like, this is going to happen now. 7 minutes left in the clock, 2-0. Jesus Christ, guys. Bedlam in the stands. I was actually firsthand, but I was there. It was unbelievable, but what a moment. One of the best moments I've had in the stadium. Just the roar, the scenes around the stadium, just limbs, to put it lightly. It was limbs, Russell.
Just incredible. Just incredible that result happened. The way it finished as well, just so sweet. Do you know what I mean? To get the clinching goal with a wee bit of time left on the clock, but to seal it 2-0. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't think we could have handled going to 92, 93 minutes at just 1-0. And it just, as you say, written in the stars, just the whole thing for the tifos that Liam was touching on earlier at the start. The fact it's 125 years, unbroken history and all that kind of thing. And I just sound in the air, as you were saying, Phil, as well. And then it just coming, I mean, it's just a fairy tale night. That is just one of the nights that will go down in folklore forever. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And by the way, not even the first time I've seen us beat Barcelona in my lifetime, Seen us beat them with Ronaldinho, etc. Do you know what I mean? They weren't bad then. But this one just had a real underdog feel to it. We didn't have Suttons, Larsons, etc. Do you know what I mean? Where you always felt we've got a chance against anyone. This is one where we're up for it, but logic, it defies logic. We have to go 2-0 up against them, and that second goal actually, of course, turns out to be so important because people probably forget the fact Messi does score towards the end. Just quickly, we did the League Cup final the other week with him, right? The 2019 one. Right. Is Foster's performance in this game better than that 2019 League Cup final?
Aye, definitely.
I think so.
Between stopping Messi and stopping Morelos, huge difference.
I watched the highlights. I watched the highlights tonight, and I thought, I think that one eclipses it.
By the way, remember going into that game, we had quite an injury list as well.
We did.
We were missing both Gary Hooper and Scott Brown.
Miku plays up front.
Miku played, yep.
Yeah, it was a panic. We didn't think in that night. I mean, was it Miku that started up front?
I was. Miku, he had to hold the line for large spells of the game. I believe he goes off for Tony Watt. I think it's Tony Watt that comes on for him late in the game.
And we switched Matthews over to the other side for some reason.
We didn't have Emilio that night. Adam Matthews had to play.
He played. So
that's mad, eh?
In fact, what?
I'm just saying it's mad, isn't it, when you think about those players being out?
Aye, and in the team that did it, and I remember Samaras being immense, just like under the floodlights, big European. It's like every time the camera was on, it was like a still frame. He just looked the part. He looked like he belonged. It looked like it was.
I remember that.
All our players did it, and same with Tony Watt. I wasn't a wee daft boy scoring a goal. He took that with such class, such composure. You couldn't help just screaming. I always remember who I was jumping about with when that goal went in. Probably has to be one of that's probably my favourite Celtic goal of all time. Probably is, without a doubt.
Wow.
Yeah.
That one brought me for everything about it.
Magic in the air, mate. Magic in the air.
Right. It was, and the thing about this performance, and earlier on I was mentioning things about memes being born, like John Terry with the full kit, and then the Rangers debacle, or the guys outside Ibrox with the disappointing and Big House must stay open. Another meme was born from this game. It's been a running joke over the years. Every time this picture gets posted, people are photoshopping and number changes. So let's have a game of what's the real amount, because
possession.
This picture has been doing the rounds for years now. The possession on this one says 11%. I'm not even sure if that's the real one. I don't know. I feel like every time I've seen this, it gets lower and lower and lower. I've seen it down at 1% with people doctoring the picture. I can't remember what the genuine possession was for Celtic at the end of the game. But look at the stats. 955 completed passes for Barcelona, 166 for Celtic. That's unbelievable. Jesus. So let's see if anyone in the chat can tell us what the actual official was. Chris says 23%. That sounds plausible. I think 11% is a bit dramatic, but I say every time that gets posted,
it's always got lower and lower.
It gets lower and lower every time. Bonnie say it was 50-50. Aye, right. Aye, right.
I love that.
As if it was.
But I don't remember us being bad for the time wasting tactics like you see Hearts or see teams against us with that. But we gained it loud. We gained it that night. We
just couldn't get the ball. It was just a case of we were trying everything in our power to keep the ball, and we kept giving it away. And yeah, it wasn't any dirty tactics for us. Just couldn't get the ball.
UEFA site has us at 27% possession.
Okay,
that's good.
303 passes attempted. 134 of which were completed. So less than half.
Yeah.
Barcelona had 999 passes and completed 865 of them with 73% possession. They had 14 attempts on goal to our 4. Just madness. But that's on the UEFA site, the 2-1 win.
Right, but at the end of the day, as it says, guys, only the scoreline matters, and Celtic put the ball in the net enough times to beat them, and that was it. And of course, one of the lasting images, Russell, I've mentioned this before on Bustalgia when we did the Fraser Forster one. I just love the full time and the celebration going on. You get the Neil Lennon image where he doesn't really hug Fraser Forster, but he grabs the sort of front of his shirt, and you just know that he's probably saying, "I fucking love you, big man." You just know he's saying something. He's got the collar up, and then that tracky top on, just grabbing Forster like, "Fucking yes, big man. I love you."
These guys tick. It made these guys tick for whatever reason. Then the boys responded to Lennon being like that. Do you know what I mean? That was it, and maybe it wouldn't work nowadays. And I get all that. Football's changed, but that's it. I think I've said this in Bustalgia before. I think Lennon caught the last of that sort of generation where rollickings still, sort of triggered them. Do you know what I mean? And just a guy acting like an absolute psychopath in the dressing room revved them up as opposed to them doing a wee meme. Do you know what I mean? Or sending a wee like eyes emoji to their pal sitting next to them. Do you know what I mean? Scared to say anything. I think then that was the last group that sort of methodology. Oh, I can't say the word. But it worked. That methodology, easy for me to say. That still seemed to, strike a chord with that group. Do you know what I mean? Not that it was just about that. It's quite clearly, it's almost unfair just making it about just that. There's obviously been a game plan, a strategy here, and it was going to be let them have the ball, let them have it when it doesn't matter. Ride your luck when you need to, yes, but don't waste your energies trying to, press them up high. Do you know what I mean? Let them knock the ball, do the tiki-taka in their own half at the halfway line. Do you know what I mean? They're going to carve out chances. That you need to roll with the punches there, I think, a wee bit as well, and accept that before you go into the game. If you don't let that panic you because you're already aware you're going to be giving up a lot of gilt-edged chances to Barcelona, that can be a good thing for the mindset too. See if you go in and go, oh, holy shit, they're carving us up really easily, don't they? I think that then you can shit the bed a wee bit. Whereas realistically, when you think about it, if you go into it knowing and you've actually had a frank discussion, they'll have chances tonight, by the way. Do you know what I mean? Let's hope they don't go in. If they don't go in, don't panic.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That they have. Stick to doing what we're doing. Keep believing. And, it's worked.
Aye. Trusting the process, one would say. If you want to put it that way. And long before the term trust the process was even used. But yeah, there you go. Neil Lennon would just been like, stick to the plan. And yeah, it worked anyway. And we got that victory. Says our history-making night. We win 2-1. Sets us up very nicely now. We're on 7 points. Destiny is in our own hands, but of course, Celtic being Celtic, we have to make it a wee bit difficult for ourselves. We need to make it a bit dramatic. We go to Benfica, to Lisbon for the next game, and we were 1-1 for quite a while in the game. Samaras scored for us again, a header at a corner. Charlie Mulgrew whipped it in, and George Samaras headed in back post. Again, black kit on, iconic. But sadly, it wasn't to be. Ezekiel Garay would score a winner for Benfica with 50 minutes to go. But that put us in a position where if we beat Spartak Moscow, then we are going into the next round of the Champions League. And something very rare happened in this game, guys. Gary Hooper scored the goal from outside the box, but what a finish it was. I believe he's only scored twice from outside the area. One of them was in the 6-0 win at Kilmarnock when we won the league in 2012, and this was the other time that he scored from outside the area for us. But hell of a finish, a first-time finish, I believe, as well from outside the area. Just played in front of him, he just runs onto it and just blasts it past the keeper low and hard into the corner. But gives us the lead. Spartak Moscow equalised for half-time, but it's getting nervy. 1-1, we're heading towards full-time. This isn't the result that we need. But then we get a penalty with 8 minutes to go. And Chris, now in my head originally, when I was remembering this, I remember the ball hitting the bar on the way in, and I was like, surely Commons did he do a Panenka? I was like, he didn't, did he? No, he just blasted it high and it clipped the underside of the bar on the way in. But I always remember it hitting the bar and there being a wee delayed reaction in the stadium because it was like, when I hit the bar, there was like a sharp intake of breath. But yeah, it clips the side bar. But in my head at first, I was like, he didn't do a Panenka. I had to go and watch it again. I was like, that's what he does. He blasts it high, try to get it up in the corner, and you just nicks the bar. Goes in, 2-1. We get the victory. And I don't know how this came across on the TV, guys, but in the stadium, that is when, of course, the PA system played London Calling by The Clash, and it was a rousing rendition around the stadium, all the fans jumping around, singing along to it. And it was just a phenomenal moment as they were doing the lap of honour. But yeah, Celtic at that point in time dared to dream. Could a Champions League final be on the cards? Who knows? After we beat Barcelona, hey, we could beat anybody now, but what a moment. A wee heart-stopping moment, Russell, when that ball did clip the bar, but we got there in the end.
Aye, I was in Glasgow. We went to go to the Human League that night. We got a free ticket, right?
Oh, okay.
And so there's 4 of us. 2 of the boys had bought their tickets, right? Me and my other pal, he'd been given them for his wife's work or something. I was like, I'll come along. Not realising it clashed with the Spartak Moscow game. I was like, no. Found a pub, watched the first half, and I just said to him, I was like, look, I'm not being funny, but I'm not going to the gig. And he was like, I always remember Martin, my mate, just told me, he goes, he's got a mad scary voice and a scary face, and he was just like, some things are more important. You're right. And I was like, yes. So we stayed. The other 2 went to the gig because they paid for the tickets. And do you know what was weird? See, before the Commons goal, I always knew we were going to win that game.
Yeah.
I say knew. Knew's a bit of a
You just
strong
felt
word,
it. Aye.
I was convinced we were going to win. Still, even at 1-1, I was convinced we would win. And we did. So, happy days.
Well, the ends well.
Aye. My mates came back absolutely wrecked because I don't think the Human League were up to much, so they'd just been at the bar the whole time.
Yeah.
He sees the score. I'm like, we won 2-1 in that. So we're through to the last 16. Puts me in a headlock, jumps on me, not realising like his strength. I cracked my head off the bar, blood pissing from me. I should have got stitches. I've got a scar in my eyebrow. It's very faint. I'm not going to bother trying to show on the webcam. But I mean, like, the rest of the night, I was just like this. Just napkin upon napkin upon napkin that the barmaid was giving me. It was a good night.
Sounds like a good night. Aye, it does. What about yourself, Liam? What's your memories of that one? The relief of getting through. But yeah, I was a similar feeling to Russell, where I just felt like we'll get this done some one way or another. Okay, we did leave it a bit late and it was a penalty we needed, but you still felt like Celtic, just there's a magic around Celtic at times. If it's going to take an 89th-minute winner, we're going to do it somehow. And yeah, we did it. And I say that moment when London Calling was playing, the fucking stadium was absolutely bouncing that night. It was a phenomenal feeling. You really did feel like, oh, this team's going places.
I mean, I felt like that. Yeah, I was over here at the time, and yeah, you could see that energy was coming back. You know, and I've said it before, it was such a contrasting season. You know, you're getting up to just go and watch a Motherwell game, or, you know, I don't even know Hibs were in the league that year. It was just Aberdeen, I think. And, you know, so it wasn't exciting, but when you're coming and contrasting them with these European nights, yeah, and it was like, all right, we've got another round. And that was like, really felt like Neil Lennon, like he was the manager for these players, as Russell said. This was the last football team. You know what I mean? The guys that could respond to that sort of treatment, guys that could go up for big games, guys that were motivated by weeks off, and managers being like a wee bit more like slack and more personable, like men and stuff like that. And I think for that point, we had that in the team. He'd taken Sammy, who had been divisive about, with the fans and all that, and turned him to, found a role for him where he could, be appreciated by the fans and his teammates, as well as being like a key player for us. And you just seen that team, it was starting to mold together and it looked good. And always in the back of my mind goes, they would get an absolute hiding this year, if they were in the league. I was hoping we'd draw them in a cup or something just so we could a right good spanking,
It's funny that never happened though, in those years.
We already beat but I want to beat them as well,
Pretty sure Inverness knocked them out of one of the cups at Ibrox, beat them quite soundly, 3-0 or something. I've got a vision of that happening. But that was their play. They were worrying about games like that while we were dining at the big table. But we'd be moving on to the next round, guys. We would draw Juventus. Now, a few weeks ago, Russell, we were doing we're talking about the debate around the Green Brigade moving to another section. We talked about some of the great tifos they've done. This is one of the great tifos that I loved, because I mentioned after we beat Spartak, obviously they played London Calling by the Clash. Do you remember the tifo that the Green Brigade had for the Juventus game? It was a belter. You know how the album cover for that one is the guitarist smashing the guitar on the front? Well, it was that, but it was the Juventus badge on the ground, all broken, and he's smashing the guitar on it.
That's right. That's clever.
I loved that one. I loved that. And again, London Calling was playing before the game, but I was very, very smart the way that they'd done that one. One of my favourite Green Brigade tifos. And unfortunately, though, the only thing that got smashed on the night was Celtic, because a wee throwback, I would say, to our experience of the UEFA Cup final. We came up against a team who are quite streetwise, shall we say, but experienced in the old dark arts, because Celtic actually played well on the night, made plenty of chances, but they couldn't take them at all. And Juve were just masters of shithousery. Here's a name that Scott Brown doesn't want to hear ever again. Stefan Lichtsteiner. They two were having wrestling matches at corners and stuff like that. Oh man, it was just a nightmare of a night. They just spooked us, and it was so weird because again, you felt like this team would be able to handle a team being a bit, like snide with all the dark arts and stuff like. You felt like this team had the characters to stand up to, but we were totally shell shocked. And of course, there's another story as well. Another sub story to this is Efe Ambrose is just back from winning the African Nations Cup with Nigeria 48 hours before the game.
He's been partying.
He played, and only minutes into the game we lost a goal where a long ball was flighted over him and he kind of miscontrols it. Juventus are in and they score. And obviously it was a massive talking point coming out of the game. Chris Commons actually kind of threw his teammate under the bus and threw his manager under the bus, which would be the first time. Well, would be the first time we'd see it. But Chris Commons would do that again, of course. We've talked about already as well on Bustalgia. But yeah, it was quite a messy fallout from it. And I've obviously put it as the poll question. I'll check the results at the end. But Russell, what do you think regarding that whole Efe Ambrose debacle? I mean, I don't think he's the sole reason that we lost to Juventus that night. I think a lot of things just went wrong for us. But there were a lot of people that were like, oh, it's because we played Efe Ambrose. That's why we lost. And it's like,
that's a comforting excuse, isn't it? I mean, that's when if you want to turn it all on just one player, why we got beat off Juventus 3-0, and then you can have that comfort blanket if you so wish. It's not for me. Do I think it was the wrong decision though? By the way, absolutely was. Of course, the player's going to say he's all right, but these guys will have partied after winning the African Cup of Nations, right? They're not going to have just oh yeah, no worries, mate. That'll be me back home. And he's effectively playing with a hangover against Juventus in the last 16 of the Champions League.
Yeah.
That's not going to work. Is it the reason why we lost? I don't subscribe to that either. I think you're right. We had chances in the game as well. Just didn't all come together that night. And the one thing you would have to say though about Juventus, in contrast to when Barcelona had opportunities against us, they were just ruthless.
Clinical.
Clinical's a good word. Do you know what I mean? And they took their chances that night. And one player shouldn't have been playing, but that's not the whole story. I think the whole story is our race was run. We made a good fist 8 games in the main stage of the Group Champions League, 2 qualifiers through. What's that? 10, 12 Champions League sort of matches that season. I think that's a very decent account of yourself back at Europe's top table.
Oh, without a shadow of doubt, there are a lot of positives to take from it overall. But yeah, getting the second round is the next hurdle that we need to try and overtake if we do find ourselves there again, get to that last day. Maybe one day it will happen, but we'll see. We'll see going forward. But Liam, what yourself about that one? Because obviously we can beat 3-0 on the night. As I say, we were kind of stitched up on the park by Juve and some of their dark arts. I say a bit of a throwback to what Porto did to us in 03. You know, a lot of the play acting, and our players just didn't seem to respond well to it. See Scott Brown, Stefan Lichtsteiner having a wee wrestling match all night. Every corner it was the same, and I was like, Bruni, man, you seem like the type of guy that can handle this type of stuff. But if he was rattled all night by him. But again, Italian teams, they're experts in that sort of stuff. They would, of course, beat us 2-0 in the second leg as well, and we were all out of Europe for the season. But overall, Liam, a positive experience, that European campaign, and lots to learn from it.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. We got an iconic scalp out of that, you know, and then we end up going into the last 16 against the old lady. Another big team. The Dark Arts were definitely... Honestly, I remember watching that game, and there's one point that Lichtensteiner had Hooper up against the post by his collars, like you owed them money.
There you go.
Mind that.
And Lichtensteiner dragged on Hooper for 90 minutes,
European referees, like well, you know, that's the way it's going on in Italian football. There's a lot of wrestling and all that. No, you're not allowed to grab a guy and ragdoll a bit and stuff. And that was what was happening. And I was really surprised that, you know, when we seen the days of Sutton backing into somebody just slightly and getting a fall for it, or, you know, like we had the theatrics of Porto, where you don't really have to, you just have to be near a player to get injured. You know, I was like, wow, this is a different sort of refereeing we're not used to.
Aye.
And at Effie as well, I don't know if it was a drink, it was probably shagged out. I mean, imagine party, you know.
Yes.
It wasn't the bevy, it was shagged out. Quote of the night.
Get it on a t-shirt. Get it on a t-shirt.
Well, you just won the African Nations Cup here in Lagos and all the beautiful women and all that. Oh, okay. Didn't want to come back. Yeah.
No, definitely no. You're getting right in about it after that one. But yeah, as I say, we've now our European campaign was over. I say lots of positives take from it. History was made along the way. It was a huge distraction from the formality that would be the Premiership title race, if you want to call it that. We obviously earned a lot of money too, and many of players really put their name on the map. Neil Lennon showing that he can mix it up with the best managers, which a lot of fans don't seem to be able to accept. He has shown in the past that he's got a great record, particularly in Europe, compared to other managers we've had since then. And surely we will now kick on from this in the seasons that would follow, keep investing and be back in the Champions League year after year. Surely they will, but we'll get to that another time. That's another story for another time. Spoiler, no, they don't. But yeah, after the highs in the European, let's take a look at the other big story this season, which obviously the domestic stuff. It's a bit of a formality because Rangers are nowhere to be seen. So the main challengers are like Motherwell, Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen. They're the sort of teams that are going to be expected to mount a challenge against us, but it wasn't going to happen, and so it's a bit of a formality. The domestic landscape has changed in the Scottish Premiership. And as I said earlier on, really bizarre stats here in this season. We actually look at the league campaign. 7 losses, 7 draws. We finished on 79 points, which is the lowest tally ever for a Premiership champion in the 12-team format. When the 12-team format came in 2001, we are the lowest points tally that season. Even lower than the season that got called early for COVID, because we had 80 points when that season got called early. 79 points was enough. I went through every league table from 2001, 2002, right up to present day to look at the final tally, the winner. So 79 for us that season is the lowest. The next one after that is 80 for the season that got called early. Aye, exactly. So we're going to smash get about 100. But yeah, mental, because that's a damning indictment of the rest of the league, because Motherwell were second with a 16-point deficit behind us. That's how far behind they were, because all the other teams are all such a similar level. They were all taking points off each other, so nobody was ever going to make a challenge towards us. We lost to teams like Kilmarnock came to Celtic Park and beat us. Motherwell beat us twice at Fir Park. We lost to Easter Road in a game. St Johnstone beat us. We were 2-0 up at Dingwall, and Ross County came back and beat us 3-2. And again, we had some absolute clanger results in the league. But as I said, from going to the games, any bad result we had, I never came away from the stadium going, oh, we're in danger here. Oh, no, we might not win the league. It was just like, he just shrugged it off and we're like, whatever. I mean, I've got a mate that is a big Hibs fan. I remember when they beat us 1-0 at Easter Road, it was Lee Griffiths that scored the goal that day for them. And I remember him being on Facebook and he was still like talking about how great it was and all that. And I just put a comment below, mate, I was like, basically nobody cares. I was like, nobody will remember this at the end of the season. I said, nobody will remember this at the end of the season when we win the league. And he's like, oh, we'll remember it as in Hibs fans. And I'm like, well, good luck to you if you do, man. If you want to celebrate it, then so be it. But from our point of view, doesn't bother us at all. We will still be champions at the end of the season, and we were handsomely. But of course, with the league title, the other thing that was eluding us at this point, because the last time we'd won a domestic treble, guys, was 12 years before that. Obviously, the 2001 season under Martin O'Neill. Trebles, unlike nowadays, were quite hard to come by back then. But of course, the season before, after Rangers points deduction, and okay, we've got a chance here, we're going on win the league, we can maybe win the League Cup and the Scottish Cup as well. Lost the final to Kilmarnock, lost the semi-final to Hearts. But here we are, a clean slate, a new season. We're going into the new year, 2013, and it's like, right, we can go for the treble here. We've got a semi-final in the League Cup against St Mirren coming up at Hampden. What could possibly go wrong? Every fucking thing could go wrong, sadly, because, yeah, we managed to lose that game 3-2. I believe even Stephen Thompson managed to score against us that day. But, yeah, the treble was then off the cards, and St Mirren went on and won that cup that season, beating Hearts in the final. But don't worry, at least we can win the double. That's still on the table, and luckily we did see it out with winning the double that season. But we did make a little bit of hard work out, if you remember, at the very, very start of that Scottish Cup campaign where we played Arbroath at Celtic Park and drew 1-1, and it went to a replay at Gayfield, and we had to beat them up there to beat them on. Adam Matthews had to score a wonder goal.
Screamer.
He did.
Did they not score? Did we not score an OG at Celtic Park where they just kicked it off their own guy's backside?
I feel like that did happen. Yeah, a real scrappy game, yeah.
Arbroath's goal was like, their boys like leathered at Liam, right? It just came off the other defender's backside and went in the net. That was Celtic's goal against Arbroath. I'm sure of it.
Aye, it was there. I can remember being at that game, but the sort of like just stunned feeling when Arbroath got that equaliser. Aye, Stephen Thompson, who's he? Exactly. Jota. Aye. Sorry, who? Looking up in the stand, like, who is that? It's us. There you go. But aye, we had to go with a replay with Arbroath. We beat them. We then beat Raith Rovers and we got by St Mirren. But then the semi-final was an absolute slobber knocker, a humdinger. And this, funny enough, came just a few weeks after we had another 4-3 game. Because remember in the league, we had a game against Aberdeen where Chris Commons scored after 18 seconds. Aberdeen then found himself 3-1 up. And we scored 3 goals in the last half an hour to beat them 4-3. It was easily the best league game of the season. Samaras scores an overhead kick in stoppage time to win it for us. But literally just a few weeks later, we had another 4-3 game, a humdinger in the semi-finals against Dundee United, where it was like one of those back and forth games where we score, then they score again, and so on. It was back and forth. It was in extra time we had to beat them. I believe Anthony Stokes scored the winner deep into extra time. But yeah, up to that point, so I'd been a season ticket holder since 2007 at that point. I'd never seen a 4-3 game in person, and I got 2 of them in a matter of weeks against Aberdeen and Dundee United. But again, it's like, this isn't good for the heart. I can't be dealing with this watching these type of games. But we were into the Scottish Cup final, guys, and after Hibs got rattled the season before by their big rivals Hearts 5-1, we compiled the misery on Hibs even more by beating them 3-0 in the final. But also do remember, early in that game, Fraser Forster had to pull out a pure wonder save. I think it was Doyle.
Ian Doyle.
Doyle, yeah. A bullet header for 6 yards. Yeah. Aye. Oh, man. It could have been a wee bit different, a wee bit of a shaky start there, but we obviously go on and win 3-0. Gary Hooper, if I remember, his first goal in that game is actually a brilliant finish. It was a cross with Stokes to the back post. And Hooper, he kind of has to turn to sort of hook it back across the goal. And it's the first game that I can remember up to a point where every time a big game came along, I always felt like Neil Lennon didn't trust Anthony Stokes. He would always either be a substitute or wouldn't be in the squad if he played Rangers, cup finals, whatnot. But this cup final, he played Stokes and Hooper together. And I think Stokes sets up Hooper for both of his goals in that one. But in fact, it was a header, went it back across the goal. But Stokes assists Hooper for both of them. And it was like, maybe if he played Hooper and Stokes the season before in those big games, we would have maybe won a double or a treble in the season before that. But yeah, it was a bit weird that, wasn't it? He always had this sort of mistrust when it came to Stokesy, didn't he, Russell?
Aye, it was weird. But again, he's got the insight.
Well, nowadays in hindsight, maybe he was right.
He's got the. This is what I was just about to say. He's got the insight into what you know this guy's mentality. And maybe he just thought that's just a nightmare waiting to happen. Do you know what I mean? Very good domestically for us though. Good goal record. Good partnership with Hooper. But the big games, the decision would be made that he wouldn't be featuring more often than not. But he was effective in this final under Iowa.
So he sets up Hooper for both the goals in the second half. Joe Ledley scores, and it would be. I think Hooper might have played a couple of qualifiers early the next season, but in terms of he was gone by pretty much the time the next season kicked off. So I can remember him playing, and it's one of those ones where you see a picture of him in that particular kit, and you're like, that doesn't look right. But I've got an image of him in the Nike kit that followed this with Magners on the front, and it's the green hoops with the white pinstripes through them that we'd have for the next 2 seasons. There is a couple of games where Hooper's playing in that in like qualifiers and friendlies at the start of the season, but I'd say that's his last big moment for us though, was that cup final. But we would wrap up a double. It would be regarded as Lennon's best season in his first tenure without a doubt, even though points-wise on the board, the next season that would come, we'd only lose 1 league game, but we'd only just win the title and blow it in the 2 domestic cups of a terrible European force. So it just shows you, Russell, what a good European performance can do. You play well in Europe, and the domestic stuff just takes care of itself if you've got a squad that can compete at that level. Funny how that works out, isn't it? It's funny how that goes. But that's the 2012-13 season. Other than the European stuff, the domestic stuff is all pretty much a formality. There isn't really much to delve into. There's no any games against Rangers, because I say they were getting knocked out of the cups by Inverness, and I think St Johnstone maybe or something. I don't know who knocked them out the other trophy. But it was a double for Lenny heading into the next season. We'll still cover that one at some point in Bustalgia, and I will get round to it. But that wraps up 2012, 2013, guys. Russell, have you enjoyed yourself tonight?
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant memories. Amazing time in my life. Loved it.
Always good to talk up on Neely Boy and Liam. Enjoyed the wee delve into that season there.
I'll just say one thing. Tony, what?
The definitive moment of the season, that goal. I think Ian Crocker says, was it, this is Tony Watt, this is unbelievable, or something like that was the commentary line, or it was a phenomenal moment. Now let's do a wee bit of housekeeping before we wrap up. The poll regarding I put at the start in the comments, if you were Neil Lennon, would you have played Effie Ambrose in the game against Juventus? There are 98 votes on it. 37% said yes, 63% said no. I would go along with that. I voted no as well on that one.
So that I thought.
Still a wee bit of support there for, play Effie. And let's wrap up the trivia. So there was 4 answers to this one. It was the question, pretty simple question. I'm not going to throw anything with like 20 answers at you. I saved them for sudden death. But no, this was just a wee 4 answers. So name all the Celtic players that we've signed directly from another Scottish team to have scored in the Champions League, excluding qualifying games. Obviously, I said Tony Watt, and we talked about Tony Watt. He is, of course, a right answer, because he played for Airdrie, not even another SPL club. He played for like League One Airdrie. He stepped up and scored against Barcelona. Mental. But the other 3.
Barry Robson.
Yeah.
Barcelona, the looping header.
Yep. 3 weeks before he was playing for Dundee United, then he's scoring against Barcelona. What a moment.
Scott McDonald, Man United.
Yeah, he scored against Milan and Man United, yeah. The other one's the toughest one.
It's a problem.
Let's see if anybody in the chat's getting it. Let's see.
Because Paul Hartley was a qualifier, wasn't he?
Qualifier, yeah.
Shit.
When I was looking up the answers to this, I was like, even I'd forgotten this one. This is such a forgettable moment. This really is.
Really?
Yeah. Well, Ryan Taylor saying Caldwell. He scored plenty of own goals in Champions League games for us, but Caldwell's not a right answer.
Mark Wilson?
No, not Mark Wilson. No.
What era?
Strachan.
Strachan.
Yeah. Somebody has got it in the chat. Exactly who I thought would get it. Patrick McLaughlin's got it because Patrick McLaughlin just knows he gets it. He understands.
Oh, I've just seen it.
Oh.
I'll let Liam keep guessing.
Okay.
I would never have got. I can't even picture the goal.
I know it's tough. I'll tell you the game it was in. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Who is it? I get up.
Do you want me to tell you the team we signed him from?
Aye.
Motherwell, Martin and Neil signed him. Ginger hair.
Stephen Pearson.
Yes, Stephen Pearson.
I cannot remember this goal at all.
We beat Benfica 3-0 in the season. We beat Man United. Kenny Miller scored 2, and Stephen Pearson scored the 3rd one.
Wow. I'll need to look up that goal as soon as we finish.
Yeah. Well, we've not done the 06-07 season. I can tell you the 06-07 season's in the post. It's coming up imminently, so it will be part of your homework for that one. You'll need to watch it. But yeah, we've not done that one yet, so we'll definitely be crossing that one very soon. But yeah, Stephen Pearson is a correct answer. If I'd included the qualifiers, Momo Silla would have been a right answer. He scored against Basel in a Champions League qualifier. We've been guessing that all night. We've been guessing right. Signed him directly for St Johnstone. Paul Hartley, as you said, was the right answer. But yeah, that was your one. So Stephen Pearson, Scott McDonald, Barry Robson, and obviously Tony Watt are the correct answers. So yeah, Russell, so tomorrow, PMP, is an early game for Celtic. When will PMP be on?
It'll be on later because I'm working tomorrow. So it'll be, I don't know, 6:30, 7:15, something like that. We'll do some PMP.
Sounds good.
Hopefully celebrating, qualifying for the semi-finals of the Scottish Cup. So it will be a bit later. I know everyone will have had their fill by then, but if you want to jump on the bus on Saturday evening before you go out or whatever it is you get up to, you're more than welcome to do so. We will be going live about 6:30, 7:15 tomorrow.
Nice one. And then say Sunday Blair will be on as usual on Sunday morning. I also think Inverness got through tonight in the Scottish Cup, so they await in the semi-final. We could end up with Inverness if we get by Hearts. It wouldn't be a Scottish Cup campaign with a Celtic and Inverness game, would it?
That's true.
I say they seem to be just brought together all the time after what we talked about last week. Let's never speak of it again. But yeah, guys, we will now set up the music and we'll be heading off into this. So the Bhoycie Bus is heading off for another night. Another Bustalgia trip is over. We'll be back next week on Bustalgia with that one. Yes, indeed. And so make sure you tune in to PMP tomorrow. And come on, Celtic, just get it done. It's going to be a tricky one tomorrow, but gotta believe they'll get it. They'll get the job done. Onward to the semi-final. Treble is very much on. So on the hoops. Catch you later, guys.
I mean, you've all that stuff at the start. They won't be playing Tina Turner on the coach on the way home, will they?
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now. And you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan. He's a Rangers puppet. He's a cheerleader. That's what he is.